Hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Geek News. My name is Kevin Andrew Rivera. We got Raul Ceballos here. Raul, how you doing?
What's up? I am doing fan-freaking-tastic, man.
And we got Chad over here, our special guest as always for movie reviews. Chad, how are you?
Good. I'm just, chilling in Asgard right now.
Chilling in Asgard. Speaking of Asgard, we're here to talk about Thor, Love and Thunder, movie review. It's about time we finally got to start doing this. Am I right, guys?
Yep.
Let's do it, man.
Hell yes. Now, without further ado, why don't we start off with some first open thoughts, first half of the podcast episode here. We'll just give our overall thoughts, and then the second half of the podcast, like we did last time, we're going to go through the entire movie plot by plot point and just discuss it. So, Chad, Raul, first things first, before we start, I know, but before that, we got all the scores online real quick. I just want to read these off. IMDb gave it a 6.7 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a critic score of 65%, audience score of 77%. Metacritic gave it a critic score of 57%, user scores gave it a 5.3%. Is the user score for Metacritic like out of 10, or is that like out of 100? Because that's kind of crazy if it's 5.3.
I think it's out of 10.
Out of 10?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes way more sense. Just the people just hated the hell out of it.
5.3%. Damn.
Like, nobody liked this movie. It's crazy. But now, guys, based on these overall, numbers that you're seeing here, what are some stuff in your mind that pops to your head when you think about this movie? Like, what are some good things? What are some bad things? Whichever one of you guys want to start.
Raul?
Well, this movie... Okay, I'm going to start off by saying I like this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It's kind of... It's not as balanced as I think Ragnarok was. And listen, I'm going to compare this movie to Ragnarok.
You have to.
There's no way you can't compare this to Ragnarok. So I'm going to be making that comparison quite a bit today. So that was my overall impression. There were things I liked about it. There were the funny parts that it kind of leaned into. It was a little more so on the funnier side than Ragnarok. I felt Ragnarok was a little more balanced. But I will say the funny stuff for me was funny. It's not like, it's not like a lot of it fell flat. Nothing really fell flat for me. But I just wish it was a little more balanced. And we'll get more into that later on. But that's my general feelings of it. I liked it, didn't love it.
Yeah, I felt like, for the most part, like, Taika Waititi, if you didn't like Thor Ragnarok, you're not going to like this one as much. And also, I would argue that Thor Ragnarok was better than this one because it felt like Taika Waititi put everything he had into Ragnarok and was like, okay, crap, here we go. We got to make the next one now, so let's see what we can come up with. That being said, if you're really into Taika Waititi's comedy and you like jokes every 10 seconds, then, hey, man, this movie's for you. It works in that sort of sense. But, Chad, I know you feel a little bit differently, so what's going on with you?
Well, I mean, you'll be sort of surprised that I kind of actually like this movie more than Ragnarok.
What?
Now, I don't love the movie. The movie has lots of problems with it, but I'll say there was a lot more emotional moments than there was. Well, I don't think there was any emotional moments in Ragnarok at all, but
True.
I think there was more here, and I just think obviously it was a mess because they kept jumping from very emotional to funny, and a lot of the jokes didn't really hit for me. The only time I actually laughed out loud in the theater was when the goats flew into the planet. And
oh my god, I love those goats.
That was the only part that I kind of like laughed at, but the rest was just like whatever. I mean, it was dumb jokes, but I love Taika Waititi's humor. I love all his other stuff, but I don't think his humor fits with Thor. I mean, like, obviously everyone's funny in it. Chris Hemsworth, he's got great timing and stuff. It just didn't fit the character for me. So as you know, I thought Ragnarok was funny, but I didn't think it was a Thor movie. Like, if anything, I think these two movies were trying to copy Guardians of the Galaxies too much, and that's why I don't think it worked. So you just take it somewhere else. I don't know. That was me.
Well, yeah, I mean, without
Take
the
it
mind of
somewhere
James
else.
Gunn, like James Gunn has like the image in his head of what he wants for his movies, whereas like I feel like Taika Waititi's like, oh, I don't know, I guess we'll come up with what we come up with, and just whatever they make up on the day, they kind of do. Isn't it true that the scripts were like improvised most of the time for this movie as well?
I don't know that for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Because I know I've heard in interviews with Taika Waititi where like when he talked to Kevin Feige about Ragnarok, Kevin Feige was like, listen, like do what you do, but just know, as I tell every other director, I want this to happen, and this needs to lead into that. And he's like, cool,
Right.
Okay, I'll go do that. And so a lot of the time,
I don't think Kevin Feige cared about this movie really, because there's nothing connecting it to anything else. I don't see it connecting to anything.
I agree with that. That's so true. Like,
so I
Ragnarok,
think he was like, here, Taika, this is your movie, do what you want, and then that'll be.
Like, if anything, like all we really get out of this movie by the end is, spoiler alert for all you listeners who haven't watched the movie, how dare you listen to this spoiler review, is the fact that like, he ends up with this little girl named Love, and that's Love and Thunder. So cute. Who, by the way, plays his daughter. It's his daughter in real life. Did you guys know that?
It is, yeah, I did hear that it is Chris Hemsworth's daughter who plays the little girl at the end.
So, like, if we get anything out of this movie, it's the fact that in the next time we see Thor in an Avengers thing or some sort of interaction with other characters, they're gonna be like, "Hey, who's the kid?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm a dad now." What? That's crazy. And like that's
a bomb to drop.
Yeah. I'll be honest. Watching this movie, I felt as though I knew everything that was going to happen, and I think this might be just one of those like Marvel curses kind of things where like, the moment you hear about a movie coming out for Marvel and you hear what the theme is or what character is going to be involved, suddenly we go on YouTube and we find all these people who are doing all the, the analytic stuff and like analyzing all the comics and whatever and saying, oh, well, this character's from this comic book, so that means that they're going with this storyline, and then this is going to happen, and then this is probably going to happen.
Just stop going on YouTube, Kevin.
Yeah.
I can't help myself. When you become so obsessed with these movies, I will admit, I do.
Obsessed with these movies.
I'm happy you're not, Chad. That's why we need you here today, because we need a different little ear to talk us into what it's like when you're not that big of a fan of those movies. But I think for me, like once they announced the whole, oh, we got the Lady Thor, I was like, oh my god, that's really cool. And then instantly on Twitter, everything pops up about who Lady Thor is and how she has cancer and how she's gonna die. And
I mean, that's that's the intrinsic problem with all these movies. Really, is that if you're familiar with the comics, you more or less have an idea of what the story is going to be about. So if you're a fan of the comics and you're already gonna know this coming in. Now, they don't always pull directly from the comics, right? I mean, Marvel Studios, they like to kind of pick and choose, and they'll mix and match, storylines. They'll even mesh two different characters together even. But you get enough of a general sense of what it might be. So as soon as we heard that Natalie Portman, was going to play Mighty Thor, we kind of gathered, oh, this might be the cancer storyline, because it's kind of a big part of how she becomes Thor. So that's kind of part of this whole thing now.
Yeah, and also I think there was a lot of fans that were like speculating before the movie came out that, oh, Lady Thor's gonna replace Thor and everybody's gonna get replaced now. And luckily that didn't happen. Like they actually did do what they said they would do in the comics. Like she does die by the end, and Thor continues his, story and his journey or whatever he's going through. But I don't know. I think we're all kind of expecting, like, now that Iron Man retired and Captain America retired, Thor is the next one in line. Do you guys think that Thor is going to last any longer after this movie's over? Like, because now he's got his daughter now. But do we think he's going to have one or two more movies in him, or is he going to keep going for another 5 to 10 years, or what do you guys think of that?
I think he's going to make it all the way to Secret Wars. That's
Wars?
What I think so, and I don't think he'll have. I think this is just my speculation, but I am going to say that I think this might be the last solo Thor movie. And I think the next time we see him will be in team-up movies or in the next Avengers movies.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how in Phase 2, the last solo Iron Man movie was in Iron Man 3. But then he kept popping up everywhere. He popped up in Civil War. He popped up in Homecoming. He popped up in the Avengers movies. Like, they still were able to carry Tony Stark's story along pretty significantly after Iron Man 3. Mm-hmm. So I think we might see something similar with Thor here.
Chad, what about you? What do you think?
I mean, I'll say that's probably the best way to go with it because right now he's not interesting at all. Everyone in his life is dead. I mean, he's just going to be a dad, which can be fun and interesting, but it's like I don't see that coming. I don't see them like creating another solo movie just for those two characters, and it just really wouldn't work. But like, I mean,
they might surprise us. They might surprise us at D23 and announce another Thor movie. But yeah, I doubt it.
I would have done this movie completely differently. I would have been it would have focused on Jane more, because I mean, cancer is a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, like they kind of just grazed over it. Like, all right, well, you're Thor now, and you're dying. That's about it. Mm-hmm. That's all we got from that. And so I was like, we're not getting any depth from her, and like, we sort of got depth from Christian Bale's character, and I was like, those two characters could have been much more present in the movie, and you know, like I think it should have gone with we're following her story. She becomes Thor, and she learns Gore has like Thor, and she's trying to save him or something, and then near the end she dies, and Thor gets Mjolnir back, you know, and and then you know, he stops Gore or whatever like that. But like, I just yeah, it was like with Ragnarok, how goofy that was, and then how in Infinity War he was like goofy and serious, and that was the best blend of that. And he was kind of obviously avoiding his feelings and stuff like that. And I think this movie should have been completely serious, where he comes to terms with all of his emotions and things like that. So it's like you kind of just threw that in the trash. And so, you know, I don't know. They just missed the mark with that. And I
do think you have a good point there, Chad, with those two points you brought up about leaning more into Jane's story and the drama of that, and then and leaning more into Gore and the drama of that, because I think, like Kevin and I were saying, we had a problem with the balance. I think putting more focus on those things would have balanced it out a little more. Instead, those storylines kind of got sidestepped for all the funny stuff, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's a great point.
I think also, I agree with you saying the thing about Gore not getting enough time. Christian Bale's performance, I thought was awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
He was awesome, yeah.
He was the best part of that movie for me.
For real. We needed so much more of Christian Bale. And I even heard behind the scenes that there was so much footage that he was able to get as Gore that they cut out because it was like, oh, it doesn't serve the story, so we got to get rid of it.
It did not serve the story. It was contrasted the comedy too much because it was too dark and scary and things like that. I was like, well, maybe you should have made the movie dark and scary. You have a character that's called the God Butcher. Make it dark and scary.
I agree. I think it's we've got a director, Taika Waititi, who directed the film with what's it called, Jojo Rabbit. Have you guys seen Jojo Rabbit?
I have not seen Jojo Rabbit.
I've seen it. It's great.
Gorgeous movie.
I've heard great things, and I'm sure it is great.
I would argue that is Taika Waititi's like best movie that has the best balance of comedy and dark stuff to it. You know, because you can't just make all jokes when it comes to the story of Nazis and the Jews and like living that type of life. I think he balanced that one out perfectly, and I thought to myself, okay, now that I've seen Jojo Rabbit, I'm pretty sure if he's going to go back to Thor now, he's going to be able to learn from this movie, from Jojo Rabbit, and make something out of Thor that could be the same type of thing. Obviously not Nazis and Jews and whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. But
although space Nazis would have been interesting in Thor.
Space Hydra. Space Hydra.
Yeah.
That's what it would
I
have
mean,
been.
you have Red Skull on whatever the hell that planet
That's right.
was.
Red Skull's out
Started
there.
a new Hydra in space. That'd be interesting.
Nah, but I think that kind of stuff. I've said it before on this show. I think that stuff is beneath Red Skull at this point.
Yeah, he's looking past it.
He's living a different kind of. He's in a different state of being. This stuff means nothing to him.
I would have been, if I was him, I would be like, oh man, it's been so long since I've had a cheeseburger. I'll do whatever I can to be to be a solid again instead of a ghost or floating apparition that tells people about a stupid, gem that, you kill yourself for.
Well, you know what? That's I actually said all that stuff about Hydra's beneath him, but that's not true. He could expand to the universe.
Yeah.
Like Thanos.
In the comics, he's all about getting the cosmic cube so he could control the universe.
That's right. Yeah. Never mind. I take back what I said.
You never know. After 80 years, he might have changed his mind.
Russo's destroyed that. That's never going to happen now.
It would be pretty cool to see Red Skull show up in New World Order for the new Captain America movie. But we're not here to talk about that. We're still talking about Thor.
I think he will maybe make an appearance in Secret Wars, though. I will say that.
Red Skull?
Yeah.
Now, okay, what do you guys think are the chances that Thor, now that he's going to be in more movies, what do you think is the chances that he will die in Secret Wars?
Thor?
Yeah,
Well, can't only the Necrosword kill gods? Like, can't he not die?
I don't know if it's that the Necrosword specifically is the only thing that can kill gods, but it is.
Well, I mean, we haven't been
definitely a
given
weapon.
any other.
I think I just always assumed that the Necrosword does kill gods, but it's not the only thing that can kill a god.
Right, like the star that made Stormbreaker could have killed Thor.
I guess, yeah, that's true.
Only if I die. Yes, that's what killing you means.
Odin died of what? Old age?
That's true. That's very true.
But I mean, he's that. Well, did he die of old age, or was it a prophecy that he was supposed to just die? But
however it happened, he just was ready to go that day and decided to turn into Sparkles.
And no one shed a tear. They were okay with it.
Were you guys? How did you guys feel about the ending of Thor 4, where they're making the wish, and the guy wishes for his daughter to come back instead of I feel like you could have wished for anything else other than
Kevin,
the gods dying.
How about we answer that question when we get to that part of
No!
the story? Come on.
Well, no, I'm just saying there's some highlights about this movie that definitely piqued my interest.
All right.
One of which was the fact that Thor, instead of wishing for the daughter to come back, they could have been wishing for any other type of thing. I don't know. This isn't Dragon Ball Z, but
I mean, they could have said, "Hey, could you bring back my daughter and save Jane?" There you go. Boom.
Bring back all our loved ones, and then Loki would have come back.
Yeah, is
then
it like
Odin?
Is it like you get one wish type of thing?
Well, you could make it a long sentence. Be like, "And bring back my friends. Bring back
As long
Tony
as you
Stark."
As long as you can say it in one breath, I guess.
Or...
Well, that leaves the door open for a lot of questions then, because.
And then Eternity's like, oh god, it's a lot of work, guys. All right,
it's too much. Just one at a time.
Also, a little Easter egg that I noticed. I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy 2 the other day, just for fun, and there's the scene where Peter Quill is learning how to use his powers, through his dad, Ego. And he opens his eyes and he sees the universe with his celestial powers. And he's like, I see it. Eternity. And there was a part of me that was like, oh, that's kind of like a cool little connection that it could be. I don't know if he's really talking about eternity from Thor 4. But about... he can see eternity, or he can, that could mean anything. Is he talking
about eternity, the celestial the cosmic being, or the?
I mean, the celestials
just
are all
eternity
interconnected in a way. So I mean, that
You're
could
not
be
celestial,
something.
I think he just means the vast.
You're probably right.
Space.
You're probably right. One of the other jokes that I really liked about Thor 4 though was I really liked the relationship that Thor was building with his Stormbreaker. Every time he would try to go for the hammer, Stormbreaker would be like, "Hey, like what's going on over here?"
I see you shaking your head, Chad.
I mean, It was just, I don't know. It was so cheesy that I was like, oh. I rolled my eyes.
It was a little weird. It's like, since when can Stormbreaker and Mjolnir? Since when do they act like the cloak of levitation from Doctor Strange? Like, that's different. Like, we've never seen Stormbreaker.
Taika probably saw Doctor Strange, like, oh, that'd be a funny idea to have in Thor. And
all right, Michael Caine.
I don't do New Zealand accents. Sorry, I don't practice Taika Waititi on the weekends like you, Kevin.
Like that idea?
No, only on Saturday.
Use it. Probably going to use that in the next film.
Hello,
We're
my
going to
name's
use that in
Thor.
the next
I
film.
love that idea.
No bad idea. I'm a rock creature who was annoying the whole movie.
But you know what, though? I feel like overall, the movie to me felt like, if you guys have seen the Harley Quinn show on HBO Max, like, they took a 20-minute episode of Harley Quinn and just turned that into a Thor show and extended it to 2 hours. Like, I felt like everything was a comedic thing for 20 minutes, which was stretched to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, I felt
a little too much.
It felt like they could have easily shortened that down to a 20-minute episode of a Thor animated
Also, they made
series.
him very dumb. Like, he doesn't know how to speak to a crowd of people sometimes. Like, he's like, oh, I made a mistake saying something very negative to you. No, sorry. Like, I was like, all right, well, you're an incompetent superhero. Like, what's going on here?
I will admit there is a part of me that feels like the dumbness of Thor has gotten more and more dumb as the movies have progressed. And I feel like Chris Hemsworth is, the way he's been saying things in interviews is like, oh, like, if I feel like I'm getting bored, and like I need to try something different, something that makes me have fun and laugh. And it's like, that's cool and all, but like, sometimes
don't completely change the character.
That's the thing, right? Is like, if you go too far, eventually you stop becoming Thor, and now you're just Chris Hemsworth having fun.
He's Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, he's not Thor anymore.
Like, don't get me wrong.
Everybody
loves Chris Hemsworth. I love Chris Hemsworth. He's
fun.
He's super charismatic in all his interviews. As a personality, he's just a cool guy. But like, when you see him in Thor, it's like there is this part where it's like he's not really Thor anymore as much as he could be. I don't know if that could also be in part because of the fact that he's done so many movies already. So like, now he's, it's time to change his character.
Yeah,
okay, I get that.
I mean,
like,
again, it's about balance, right? I mean, it's just finding that balance. I feel like the balance of Thor Ragnarok, not just the film, but of Thor's character himself, I felt that was very well balanced. That was, that was the perfect balance of seriousness and comedic effect. And of course that carried on through Infinity War and Endgame. But yeah, this just leans so much into just craziness and silliness. So it's
I will also say, I should have said this earlier, that I guess Taika Waititi in an interview was asked, like, hey, are you going to do Thor 5? Like, are you going to work on that? And both Chris Hemsworth and Taika Waititi were like, I'll do it if Taika does it, or I'll do it if Chris does it. If we both want to do it, then we'll do it. And to me, I'm like, okay, well, that could mean anything. Like, I'm going to assume maybe we will get a Thor 5, possibly, but if we do...
I would say don't do it if you don't have a script.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it makes... Yeah,
if you don't have a plan that connects to any of the universe, don't do it. Just stop. Stop it.
I agree with Jad.
I guess, but that also brings up the point of, like, when we see DC doing their non-connected universe films, like Joker, for example, or The Batman, how we all kind of praise, like, oh man, we haven't had a standalone superhero movie in ages. But then you got Thor being a standalone technically, and we're not really into it because it's supposed to be interconnected with everything else. But it's like, where's the sweet spot? Because I think we're having trouble finding what that is at this point with the rest of these movies. There's so many more movies coming out, and I think this movie alone was just, maybe it's a taste of what it could be like if we had standalone Marvel films again. What do you guys think of that?
Well, I think standalone Marvel films are better sometimes because you don't have to worry about the added, like, oh, there's so-and-so who could just pop in at any moment, or like, why didn't they
he's
say,
the
help
guy
out?
from the other movie.
Yeah, like, there's so many distracting things that could take away from the plot, because I think the best stories for superheroes are personal ones. That's why Spider-Man has better ones, but obviously we didn't get that until this last one, really, of Spider-Man. But like, the Doctor Strange 2 wasn't that good because it was combined with a Wanda's story stuff. Like, if it was his own thing, I think it might have been a much better film. And like, if you weren't trying to build off the whole multiverse arc, like if you weren't dependent on that, it'd be like, oh, because we only went to like 2-3 worlds, and I was like, all right, that's not really a multiverse. It's just jumping, a couple dimensions or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I just think when it's a director who knows what he's doing, and like it's not a pure comedy like Ragnarok and this one, I think it has a better chance of being better or received better.
I think I'll also add that looking at the films that came out this year for Marvel, everything we've had, I think, what was it? We had Black Widow, we had Shang-Chi, we had Eternals.
That was all last year.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I meant to say this past phase so far.
Oh, I see. In phase 4, yeah.
Most of these movies have been these serious things or new introductions to new characters. And I feel like this Thor, I believe Thor 4 was the first, like, real funny movie of phase 4, right? Am I right about that?
Am
I missing anybody?
Say so. Yeah, I'd say
other
so.
than the TV shows?
Yeah, other than the TV shows, I'd say yeah.
So, like, I feel like I understand why they went in this direction again for Thor, because they needed that different flavor out of all these movies that were coming out during this phase. But was it the smart choice to make it for Thor? Maybe somebody else needed it more than him.
Well, I think that's the third Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be that, and now that took that away from it. Now we might not like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as much because but I will say James Gunn actually knows what he's doing.
Well, I was going to say,
Taika doesn't,
yeah,
but,
don't ever bet against James Gunn, man. That guy knows what he's doing.
Like there's many people who don't like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I like it. I thought it was great, but I get it. People thought it might have been too silly at points, but I was like, that's the way the one or two characters were written, like Drax and so on. But you still had serious moments going on with Rocket and Chris Pratt's character. So I think James Gunn at least knows his beats, and he keeps it all. And like, I was sad when Yondu died. I was like, oh man, that's nice little moment there. But
yeah, like there always has to be some kind of payoff in these Marvel movies. I feel like for me, in Thor, the one moment that made me go, ugh, feelings, I'm gonna get a tearjerker moment, was when Thor finally confessed to Jane while she's in her bed towards the end of the film, where he's like, because I love you, like I don't want you to go and get yourself killed. When he finally starts confessing those things, and he's just so vulnerable to talk about how scared he is. I was like, man, like, Taika, where has this been? Like, this is the stuff that we needed even more of, I felt. But man, like, you did get me with that one. So I do applaud you for that film, for that moment at least,
Yeah, no, that moment was great, and the end moment with Gore, where he's dying and he's coming to terms with that, and to decide on whether he wants to bring his daughter back, and I thought that was a very nice moment as well, and yeah, but so far apart and nothing really to connect to, and I felt the what's the city called? The God City? Omnipotent City.
Such a great name.
I think the gods should have been shown to be more cruel than we got.
Right.
They seemed more silly in that city, but the one in the beginning that was about to kill Gore, I was like, okay, let's see more of this. Let's see more of the cruelty.
They seem less cruel and more just like assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, they don't seem really cruel. They just seem like a bunch of airheaded dicks, like,
yeah. Oh God,
but,
I don't know if you guys have seen. Have you guys seen the show Succession yet?
No, not yet. I've heard good things though.
It's a great
I've
show.
been meaning to watch it.
One of the main things about that show is, they're all these rich people, these billionaires that all are a big family, and you get to see scenes where how they interact with people who are quote unquote less than them. And most of the time, it's like there is this humor to it because of how ridiculous it is that they're so powerful and wealthy. But there's also this like sadistic or like very glass half empty kind of energy from these higher ups. And I felt like that could have been a really cool like balance with all those gods of giving us more of that, where they're very pessimistic, but they're also more full of themselves than we think they are. Again, what you said earlier about the first god in the beginning of the film, that guy was like a total asshole, full of himself, total jerk that deserved to get stabbed in the neck. Like, I don't know, I didn't feel bad when he got killed. Is that bad?
No, I was rooting for Gore. I was like, kill the rest of them.
I think that was the idea. Yeah, I think that was the point.
But I wanted more. I wanted him to, like, the way Gore spoke to Valkyrie and Jane about the disparity of gods they're not here to save you. Like, why haven't they cured your cancer? Why did they let all your friends die in that battle? Like, I wanted more. That's why I wanted more Christian Bale, because we only got to see the aftermath. But if we got to see him actually speaking to these gods and like showing how hypocritical they are and like things like that, I think that would have been more. That would hit heavier and be more interesting. But it skipped all over that, and we're like, oh, he's evil now. I don't know, but they could have played it much better, but they didn't. They missed the mark.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of hoping. I was kind of hoping that we would get the chance to see Gore kill more gods, because we only get to see him stab one dude in the beginning, and then the rest of the film, you do see a dead god here and there, but you don't see Gore doing anything. And so I'm like, it kind of takes away from.
And they didn't even explain like, oh, he can summon monsters. I was like, what? What's just happening now? So I was very interested in that, but because also if you are a comic book fan, the Necro Sword belongs to like the king of all symbiotes in the Marvel universe. Yeah. So I was like, oh, are these like symbiote creatures or something? But no, they weren't. They were just some kind of monster or whatever like that. Shadow monsters.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Which were cool to look at, but
Which also, I guess, is a little shout out to the whole Venom universe for the Spider-Verse that Sony's working on. Where I think they're working on a Venom 3, which they're going to introduce, quote unquote, the king of the symbiotes. And if he ends up having a Necro Sword, then that'd be really epic to be like, oh, there's an interconnection here, and this is the multiverse saga. So
was Marvel trying to do a shout out?
No,
I feel
probably
like
not.
I feel like they do not care about anything going on with the Sony Spider-Verse.
I mean, I don't know. The Sonyverse, they're trying really hard to connect all their villains with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So I feel like Kevin Feige must have been sweating bullets going, oh boy, how am I going to make this work? The multiverse saga.
It's clearly a one-sided relationship, right?
Yeah.
Sony's like, oh, we want to follow you, Marvel. We're doing all, we're trying to connect. We're creating our own thing, but we're trying to connect to Tom Holland. Marvel's like, who are you? Excuse me, what?
It's the 12-year-old brother who thinks he can help his 17-year-old brother come up with more action figures to add to the collection. And it's like, no, those are dolls. Those aren't action figures. Oh, God, this kid's embarrassing me. But either way, I think with that all being said, gentlemen, do we have any more highlight moments we want to bring up before we step into this summary?
Nope.
I'm ready to just dive in.
Hell yeah, let's do it, guys. So we got the beginning of Thor: Love and Thunder. There's a little bit of a paragraph here, so give me a sec as I read. So Gore and his daughter struggle in a barren desert. Despite their prayers to their god, Rapu, Gore's daughter dies. Then the god-killing Necrosword weapon calls to Gore, leading him to Rapu's lush realm. After Rapu cruelly dismisses Gore's plight, he renounces the god, causing Rapu to strangle him. Am I saying that right? Rapu or Rapu? I don't even know. The Necrosword offers itself to Gore, who kills Rapu with it and vows to kill all gods. Gore is granted the ability to manipulate shadows and produce monsters, but is cursed with impending death and corruption under the sword's influence. Now, I find that really interesting for that first section because it says that he's granted the ability to manipulate shadows and produce monsters. I don't remember if we were actually told that or if we were shown that right from the get-go.
No.
Right? Am I right about that?
We weren't told. They just showed it later on.
They just have that happen later on.
We're like, oh man, he's just super cool and badass.
It's just like, oh, I guess he can do this now.
Mm.
I will say when the movie first starts and you see the shadow of Christian Bale, like you instantly know it's Christian Bale just based on his figure.
The only thing that we learned about him when he got the sword is when Rapu or however you say it, or Rapu. Rapu, probably it's said. But what we learned was because the god goes, it's like, oh, the sword chose you, now you're cursed. That's all he said. That's all that happened.
So yeah, I guess you can just kind of connect the dots after that and be like, oh, okay, he probably has like cool powers or whatever. But I thought this was a really cool opening scene though with Christian Bale because it gave us everything we needed to know about his point of view and all the suffering he'd experienced. But also it's a cool setup to make us think about the fact that he just wants to kill gods, whereas there's still the option of bringing his daughter back by the end. Raul, what did you think about this opening sequence?
No, I thought Christian Bale was. I mean, you get Christian Bale to do a role like this guy doesn't half-ass anything. You know what I mean? Like, so anytime Christian Bale was on screen was always a delight. So yeah, this first, you really buy it. He's really, you really see his emotion come through, and he's like, he's got his daughter, and he's like, he's desperate to find something, some kind of food, shelter, something, and his daughter dies in his arms, and he's just, you feel it, man. You feel all the emotions coming out. So I love this scene, just getting us instantly into the headspace of Gore and where he's coming from and how you can understand his motives going forward in the story.
Oh yeah. I also found it really interesting when Christian Bale's character Gore, he's trying really hard to get this God to help him, and the God doesn't care about offending Gore and just being like, screw you, you're just a little lowlife. And the moment Gore has a way to hurt the God by saying, I renounce you, then it's not okay. Like, no, this doesn't work that way. I am only allowed to make fun of you. You're not allowed to make fun of me. You're not allowed to attack me.
He can dish it out, but he can't take it.
Exactly. Yep. Which I guess, I don't know, it still gives me that callback to Succession about like how the rich act against the poor kind of thing. Like, oh, like we get all this cool stuff, but you can't treat me like crap. I can treat you like crap. I thought that was a really cool connection. And I feel as though when you see, again, what I was saying earlier, when you see this first god getting killed, I'm like, damn, I better see some more gods getting killed now. So you're setting it up for us. You're setting up the movie of what we're to expect now for the next few scenes or next few minutes of this film, hopefully.
Yeah.
But we didn't get that, did we? So that's all right.
You know what? I've heard a lot of people have this complaint about like, well, Gore didn't do enough god butchering on screen. You know what? It didn't bother me.
Really?
That surprisingly wasn't. Yeah, you know why? I don't know. I saw it the first time, and then you see the aftermath. The rest of you see all these, gods dead. Especially that one big monster like god. And I don't know. For me, it was enough for me to go, okay, I get it. He's killing gods. I didn't. I mean, would it have been cool to actually see him kill more gods? Sure. But honestly, it did not even register with me. Like, I got it. He's killing gods. This guy needs to be stopped. All right, cool. And it wasn't until after I saw the movie, I heard people talk about that. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess he didn't kill. Like, it didn't even register with me at all. I guess he didn't kill any other gods on screen.
He was Gore, the two-god butcher.
Yeah,
right? He only killed two gods, technically.
I don't know. No, maybe that was just me in my head. No, he killed a lot more. Yeah. It's just we only saw the aftermath of certain,
right?
Of a few of them. And yes, we did see him kill that first god Rapu on screen. We did see that. But yeah, we didn't see him kill any more after that. But it wasn't until later that I didn't even realize, like, oh yeah, he didn't really kill. We didn't see him kill any more gods. But it didn't. I don't know. It never bothered me.
My question is,
that's just me, I guess. I don't know.
Are Asgardians, like the citizens, they are not gods?
I was wondering this too, actually.
Yeah.
I felt like the other Asgardians they have super strength as well.
Yeah, but they're not gods, I guess. But they still have the abilities of Asgardians, which are superhuman.
Until I see some movie or show where some random character meets a random Asgardian, and the Asgardian can lift
Well, they
something
did in
heavy.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did do that. But, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's
isn't
right,
really
yeah.
canon, I guess.
Yeah,
Doesn't
Peter
count.
McNichol. I remember that episode.
So, wait, in that episode, did the Asgardian have super strength?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he did.
Well, then I guess for now it's safe to assume that maybe most Asgardians or all Asgardians are stronger than humans.
Yeah.
They are.
Because
I
they're
think
aliens,
they have. Yeah,
they're just-
they all have the same. Yeah, they all have the same powers as Thor and all that stuff. I just think we call Thor and Odin and Loki. They're all gods because those are the ones that came down to Earth most often, and they were worshipped as gods by the Norwegianers or whatever. So
Right.
I guess that's why we call them gods, because they specifically were the ones who had access and contact with people on Midgard on Earth.
Because, yeah. I mean,
So yeah, a majority of the Asgardians just stayed in Asgard, so they were never seen by anybody on Earth. Hence they weren't worshipped as gods.
Asgardians had soldiers in their army and everything like that, so they did go to other worlds to fight, or realms to fight. So it's just like, all right, do they fall into the category of godlike beings, or are they just,
I'm sure they did.
considered as regular people? Because then I would have said, why didn't he just slaughter everyone in that town and the kids? Because the kids are also gods. So it's like
I see why we're
should have
bringing
killed
this
them
up.
too.
Okay,
But
so we're trying. Okay.
Oh, well, he's got a weak spot for kids though because of his daughter. I think that's
wouldn't say that. He was gonna let that thing drop on their head.
Well, okay. Well, there's that, but also there's the point of he was using the kids as bait so that he can get the Bifrost.
I don't think he really cared. He's like, you remind me of my daughter. And that was that. I thought that was going to come into play later. They were going to use her to draw it out of him, but no, that didn't happen. So.
Well, next up on the scene here of this movie, we hear Korg narrating a montage of what Thor has been up to. He's been helping the Guardians of the Galaxy with whatever they wanted to do. I'm going to add on to the next part here. After helping the Guardians of the Galaxy with their latest battles, Thor learns of a distress signal from Sif. The Guardians happily part ways with Thor as he finds an injured Sif who warns that Gorr's next target is New Asgard. First things first, the montage, I feel like that was something like every Marvel fan was expecting to see because, like how's it going to go from fat Thor to muscular Thor,
They could have skipped that whole thing and I wouldn't have cared.
Really?
I was like, I didn't care for the whole fat storyline. I was like, I think if anything, we should have had no montage because that just took up time of the story, which could have been used.
Chad, there would have been some people out there going, why didn't he was supposed to be fat. Why didn't we see how he became skinny? What happened? Well, he's not skinny.
Then he could have made a side comment being, I did a bunch of, certain workouts that Asgardians would use.
Right.
Or,
Asgardian squats.
Yeah.
Some stupid line could have taken care of that in 1 second.
I just know people would have complained. Why isn't he fat anymore?
If anything, I would have, if I were Marvel, I would have been like, okay, here's extra DVD features of him working out.
There you go.
Like him,
like
how people on social media, like their pictures, they're videotaping themselves work out. He does that. That would have been funny.
And his roommate.
Specials. Yeah,
and his roommate Daryl is the one recording and holding the camera.
No, Korg is videotaping.
Or Korg, yeah.
He's gonna do this now, and he's gonna lift these weights. And then
you got to put Daryl in there somewhere though.
He's in the movie. He's in the movie.
Yeah,
right?
I know he's in the movie.
I was
it's
so
like
surprised when he showed up.
But I think they could have done that in the credits, just had him working out, doing different things to get in shape or whatever, like as a extra bonus, thing. It didn't influence the story at all. It didn't really do anything for the story.
Yeah, it was simply it
was a gag. It was just
you're all caught up now.
And now he's wearing a man bun, and he's like some sort of. You didn't even get a bit of that. I don't know. That was all dumb.
Well, I mean, I thought it was interesting that Korg was setting us up with letting us know where Thor is mentally. Because he's like, well, look, Thor is, working out, and he's physically, perfect now. But mentally, he's still not okay. He's still trying to find himself.
But the thing, they could have showed that to us instead of telling us.
That's very true. That's super true. Although the way that they narrated it was well done, in my opinion. But I still agree with you, though. They could have just shown us instead of, told us. But if they had to explain it any way that wasn't showing us, then I'm glad it was Korg trying to tell the kids the story of the mighty Thor.
I mean, but also the narration was a device that kept coming up and over and over again. So they used it to bookend the film. So I guess in that sense, that's why the narration is somewhat important to this movie.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna get to more of that too, because there's some that we're gonna talk about with Jane. But next up in our scene here, we got oh, wait a minute, real quick. I think I almost skipped over this thing when we see the distress signal from Sif. I thought it was really cool that they started setting up the whole Valhalla situation of like, no, you can't go to Valhalla unless you were in battle. That's when you have to die.
How do you get into Valhalla?
Yeah, if you die outside of battle, then you don't go to Valhalla. And Sif is like, man, I gotta stay alive. And I thought that was a really good place to plant that thought, because then by the end you get a good thing with Jane at the end of the end credits, which we'll talk about later. But
also, I want to bring up that battle that we saw of them taking on the furry chicken things or whatever they were.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was so bad and like not like fun.
It was cheesy.
It was like the split holding them apart. I was like, ugh. My eyes almost fell out of my head because they were rolling so hard.
But it's a little cheesy.
But I'll say that like you could tell that the whole thing was a set. Like the background was just CG, and like they were just hiding next to these fake rocks. I was like, who did the production value of this? It looks terrible.
Well, Thor 4 was the first Marvel movie where they started using the volume, just like Star Wars does for their TV shows. And you could tell, though, that they're using it because of that scene specifically. But also going to the whole leg split thing, that moment to me was the moment that told me that if you don't like this joke, you're not going to like this movie. At least that's what it told me. And I was like, okay, like, I have to just accept that this is the sense of humor that this movie is trying to give me. And if I can just open my mind and be open to it, then I'm sure I can enjoy the movie more.
That's the mindset I was in. I was like, all right, here we go. Like, this is the movie. So I just got to be into this.
To be fair, because I gave myself that mental thought process, then I did enjoy the movie for what it was. But of course, you guys know how we all felt about it, as we started this podcast episode. Right. But, either way, they set the tone for us. Although they set the tone with Christian Bale killing a god, and then they go to this, and you're like, okay, so...
It's a little jarring, isn't it?
Yeah, like, the tone is this, then? Or is it this? What are you trying to show us, Taika?
No, I mean, if anything, it should have been him, Thor, angrily tearing through space, fighting all these... Not, like, comically, but, like, seriously, tearing through, and then, like, he's like, no, I should go the route of peace, and blah, 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 and,
Can I just say, sorry, Chad. Can I just say, the Guardians were treated like chumps in this movie. Like, I really did not I did not like the way the Guardians were portrayed here. Like, these guys, this movie made them seem like incompetent fools. Like, I get it. Like, Thor is very powerful, but I don't know. It just made the Guardians look really bad.
Well, I totally see what you mean by that. I personally saw it as, like, were the Guardians of the Galaxy capable of handling this massive battle that Thor finished off for them? Like, were they really able to do it
I feel like they've handled worse, or at least...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like,
similar
stakes. If you look at, like, the second movie when they had all the people from... Oh, my God, I'm skipping right now in my brain. The people that were the perfect people that are making Adam. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, the
Sovereign. The
Sovereign, that's what it is. When they're up against the Sovereign, it's like they know when they're surrounded, and they know that they've also got people they're trying to help in this Thor movie. So they're like, guys, we really need some heavy guns in this. But also, it's weird. Like, I got the opposite feeling about it. Like, I didn't see them as these pathetic losers. I saw them as these guys who are just like, bro, we literally brought you, Thor, with us so that you could help us take care of all the hard stuff. Because we're literally here because we depended on you, and you're not helping us. Instead, you're this yoga instructor who needs to find his peace and tranquility. And so, if anything, I got the sense that they're just sick of Thor. They're like, dude, as cool and muscular as you are and powerful as you are, your headspace is not there, and we don't want to deal with this anymore. We feel like we're babysitting you.
He's destroying temples, he's not even using his head in the battle. He's just trying to look cool for some reason.
Which is understandable because I get that. That's I guess that's because he's reckless, and they're trying to say that this is because his head is not in the right space. He's got some healing to do still.
Go find the people you love, man.
He comes out in this movie. He comes off as more as a child, if anything, because of how dumb he is and how he's not able to interact with people that well, and he's a man-child, but also he's however old in this movie, and he's lost family members. He should be at some maturity in his head. There should be some, not only when he just hears, oh, she has cancer. It's oh, maybe I stop joking for a minute and
I think that's how I think Thor. I'm trying to give this movie the benefit of the doubt, even though I know we're kind of picking it apart and being pretty critical, but I'm trying to give this movie the benefit of the doubt in that I think what they're trying to do is that Thor, he's lost so much. If you think about it, he's lost his father, he's lost his brother, he lost, Asgard was destroyed, Mjolnir was destroyed. He gets to a really dark place. Especially in Endgame. That's the lowest of the low he can get. And I think it's maybe he's kind of, as a result, developed this
coping mechanism.
This coping mechanism. Exactly. This coping mechanism of kind of, everything's funny. Everything's a joke, right? As a way to kind of deflect the seriousness of everything going on. I can't help but feel like maybe that's what's happening with him here. He's developed this coping mechanism and this defense. And the hard stuff is too hard, so I'm just going to make a joke about everything.
I can sort of agree with that, but I say they didn't convey that well. They went too hard into it, and now it's just.
Well, we know one thing's for sure. If James Gunn had written this script, he would have made sure to add a scene where Thor talked about that himself. Oh, I'm just making a coping mechanism and blah, blah, blah. He would have said those things, because that's something that I always noticed James Gunn does in all his movies or all the projects he works on. All his characters have a therapy session with each other and talk about their feelings. And I'm like, okay, maybe Taika learned a little bit of that when there's some interaction throughout this movie, but he didn't really talk about the big bulky parts about Thor himself and what is going on with him psychologically and why he's thinking the way he's thinking.
You know what? I think going to what your point was, Chad, I think the reason why it probably doesn't work as well is because not only is Thor not only is Thor kind of jokey and funny, but like we were saying, this whole movie is 80% comedy. So I think it doesn't quite work as well. If the movie was more serious, and then you see Thor kind of being all jokey, it stands out more, right? You're the tone of the movie is a little more serious, but then Thor is being the way he is, and you're like, oh, there's something's not right with him right now. He's being a little too funny and all that stuff. What's going on with him? But because the movie was also kind of in that silly vein, it didn't really stand out as much.
I think also going from Endgame, where you see, you call back to the scene where he's talking to Rocket Raccoon about, we got to get in there and steal Jane's Infinity Stone inside her. Hey, Thor, you gotta snap out of it. Just that whole energy and vibe that Thor was, he's just psyching himself out all the time throughout Endgame, so that by the end, he's like, I really got to figure myself out because I still haven't done this. So that's why, for me, I was expecting him to still be this psyching himself out kind of person throughout this next film, which, again, brings us back to the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're like, yo, we're the freaking Guardians of the Galaxy, and you're embarrassing us, dude. We've got a reputation to uphold. You don't have your shit together. Let's let you go. Please, by all means, go do your thing so that we can go do our Guardian stuff and not look like total dumbasses because of you, man. Come on. especially with the giant glass castle. Which, by the way, who the heck makes a giant glass castle and calls that their home and expect it to not get destroyed? You know what I mean?
Well, it wouldn't have gotten destroyed
if it wasn't for Thor.
If it wasn't for Thor.
Yeah, who knows how long it had been up there? It had been constructed before Thor destroyed it. Could have been there for thousands of years.
Also, can I just say the birds on their motorcycles definitely gave me what's it called? The movie with Tom Hardy, where he was the Mel Gibson role. Oh my God, with Furiosa. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Mad Max.
I do,
Mad
but
Max
I
Fury Road.
wanted you to get to it on your own.
Yes, Mad Max Fury Road. It gave me such a Mad Max vibe watching those bird alien creatures on their motorcycles. And so mixing that in with like Thor splitting his legs, I was like, oh my God, what is this movie right now? But anyways, guys, we've stayed on this scene for too long. Let's move on to the next thing here. So we got, meanwhile, Dr. Jane Foster, Thor's ex-girlfriend, has been diagnosed with stage 4 terminal cancer. With medical treatment proving ineffective, she travels to New Asgard, hoping that Thor's hammer Mjolnir, which was previously fractured by Hela, might heal her. We also see a play with Melissa McCarthy as Hela, Luke Hemsworth as Thor, and Matt Damon as Loki. I'm really glad they brought back the theater group for some reason.
Yeah.
Because I did not see coming that they were going to bring Melissa McCarthy. That definitely gave me a good laugh.
That came out of the blue. That was funny.
Plus, I think Taika Waititi really likes his theatrical stuff, so he was like, "Yeah, of course we got to bring it back. Of course, yeah, let's do that."
I agree. I thought it was very humorous, but the best part of that whole play was Sam Neill when he was disappearing. When he dropped the thing. He was like, "Oh no, he had to say what was happening. Like, "Oh, I'm dying now." And I was like, "That's funny."
I love that to cut the scene. Both Thor and Loki, the actors, they both look up and go, Heimdall! And then the spotlight hits them, and everybody just starts clapping. Like, that's it. That's the end of the scene. Yeah. How did they know that's the end of the scene? As a theater actor who did theater once. Like, that's not how you end a scene. You just got to black out. Like, I don't know. Anyways, it was hilarious.
Bring down the curtains.
Yeah, bring down the curtains or something.
They're not human. They're Asgardians,
They have a limited budget that... The tourism, all the money that comes in from tourism, they don't really allocate it to the theater folk.
Now, one thing that's really interesting though is Jane Foster. So Natalie Portman's Jane Foster. When I've seen her throughout the MCU films that I've seen her in so far, I always felt like she was just so dry. Like her character was very dry, very plain, and like one-dimensional. I didn't really get too much out of her, so I'm glad that this movie kind of started to give you some more about her so you could actually get to know her better and like her a little bit more.
I wouldn't say that. I would say in the first two movies I got, something from her. Obviously it wasn't as, crazy in-depth. I mean, I don't know what you were looking for exactly, but, she's a person who fell for this person who fell from the sky, but she's also a smart. She's intrigued by that. Her theories are right, and she's this scientist. And the thing is with that, I think in 2, when she's infected with the whatever it's called, I forget what it's called. I think that's what gave her the cancer. They should have tagged that on. And so that's Thor's fault that she's got cancer. Then he would feel even more guilty.
Oh.
That would have been great. It's just like, yeah, I got cancer after you removed the stone from me.
We just want to keep stacking trauma.
Now his daughter needs to die.
On top of trauma on poor Thor.
Yeah. Oh man, poor Thor for
down.
Thor 4.
It wasn't so much like I feel like I got enough out of Jane Foster in the other 2 films, but what I didn't get was a lot of chemistry between her and Thor in the other 2 films.
I feel like that's kind of what
that's only because of the way it was written, and also she didn't really want to be in the second one or something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure once she read the script, she was like, "Oh God, I gotta work on this."
Well, but also I think she didn't have a great relationship with. I didn't really read into it because I don't care. I don't really care about all that.
I read something about how like she didn't want to be the damsel in distress character anymore.
Well, yeah,
like,
I heard
she was
that.
bored
I
of
did
that.
hear that.
So when Taika came up to her and was like, "Hey, I want to offer you something different than that. Like, what about this?" She was like, "Oh, I'm very intrigued."
Well, she should have known that it could have led up to Lady Thor. I mean, if you read the character.
Well,
but also that character's very interesting. Because...
Well, we don't know that Natalie Portman is. We don't know how much her knowledge is. Her comic knowledge.
Also, Lady Thor.
How vast
I believe Lady Thor didn't really come out as a comic until 2015. So there was no Lady Thor when she was working on the second one. So I'm guessing mindset-wise, she must have been thinking, I'm just the damsel in distress probably forever if I keep doing this.
I would have preferred if she was still the ambulance EMT that inspired Thor, because then, that would go with the personality you get in this one of her. It's like, no, I'm going to risk my life to save these kids. I'm going to save people because I am an EMT. She wasn't that. In the first one, she's a scientist. She's just trying to prove her theories, and so that's why I was like, that kind of takes away from her character. But
I thought that when we first see her, she's like sitting in the doctor's office, and she's got this guy next to her with a book. He's reading her book, and she's like all chuckly and like, "Hey, like you enjoying the book? Yeah, that's me. I wrote that." Like that whole sequence to me was so charming, and that for me that made me like Jane Foster a little bit more, because I felt like, to me it was like I feel like I didn't get to see this side of her in the first two movies, and so the fact that she's kind of like in that zone, the only reason I could justify why she was acting that way, even if it was her book or not, was the fact that she had cancer. She's thinking about dying, so her mind place is like getting her all loopy and whatever, and she's just willing to try something different before she quote unquote dies. Well, I don't know why I'm quoting it, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I think she should have been sunk in the moment, accepting her own demise, and we really sit with her in that moment and be like, "Oh man, this is really sad," But
really
no,
quick,
we had to make a comedy,
Really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh. No, I was just gonna say, this podcast, we're striving for accuracy because our podcast is so important. So I went ahead and looked up. When Lady Thor was introduced.
Yes,
and it was 2014.
2014. Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah.
2014.
Okay. So she definitely did not know about Lady Thor then when she worked on the second one.
Yeah.
Because I think, when did the second one come out? I think 2013.
I doubt she read the comics for her character.
Well, I mean, either way, there wouldn't have been that much for her to read, because
Thor: The Dark World came out in 2013, and then Lady Thor was first introduced the next year.
Yeah, very good. But you know what, Chad? I want to go back to what you just said though about it should be dark and brooding. If we make Thor's storyline dark and brooding, and then we cut to Jane, and now her story is dark and brooding, and then we cut to Gore, and Gore's story is dark and brooding, everything's just going to be dark and brooding, and then we're going to get a Batman movie. So
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it would be dark and brooding, because if you're surrounded by all this color, very vibrant colors, the whole movie's very vibrant and very colorful and very almost hopeful at times, but somehow they can't see past themselves and enjoy the world that they're in. And then you kind of if it was written in that way, where they could find that thing that helps him get over, like him wanting to be with her, and then it becomes lighter, it comes brighter, there's if you earn those laughable or joyful moments, they hit even harder. And in the fact that they didn't want to do that they just wanted to go for the cheap and just stupid jokes and stupid happy moments, and I think they I'm losing track.
I totally get what you're saying though. I think if anything, too much of one thing is not a good thing. And there definitely needed to be a better balance of not too many jokes, but not too dark and brooding that it just feels super ultra depressing forever. You got to meet it halfway.
Well, no, I mean there's a certain point where you would take like not everything that happens to him in the scene is going to be, oh, you know what? Oh, your dog just got hit by a car. Sorry. And then it's like, oh yeah, you got cancer. It's not going to build up like that, but you're just going to feel with them in the moment, and then like there'll be this release that can be like her friend that shows up. That could have been the release to that moment, of her just sitting there like looking at the tubes in her arm and stuff like that, and then you have the comedic moment of her friend showing up instead of her doing the book thing with the guy, because then I didn't care about her friend being silly at all. She was like less silly. She wasn't as funny.
Yeah, no, I said she wasn't silly at all. Her friend, I think her friend was the serious one, saying, "Why aren't you being serious? You have cancer."
No, but she was trying to be silly because, like, when you want to contact your, handsome, sexy friend, and it was just like, ugh.
And that's just that's the nature of Darcy's character. Darcy's always kind of the she's the funny best friend, but
Also,
yeah.
I think
Go ahead, Kevin.
I did like the fact that because Jane Foster's in denial from the beginning, as the movie progresses, you slowly start seeing her get sadder and more droopy as her sickness is getting worse and worse. And so I was like, okay, I that's the only reason I forgive that, because if it was just like denial the whole entire time and then she dies, and it's like, okay, well, whatever. But I don't know. I felt okay with the way that they handled Jane Foster from the beginning.
It didn't bother me so much either.
But moving on to our next scene here, we got Thor arrives in New Asgard just as Gorr's attack begins. Thor is surprised to find Foster wielding Mjolnir, but teams up with her, Valkyrie, and Korg to fight Gorr. Due to an enchantment Thor unknowingly placed on it years earlier to protect Foster, Mjolnir reforges and bonds itself to her.
I think that's out of order, right?
Which part?
Well, I mean, that last part you just said happened before. Like, don't they say that before?
Oh, yeah, no. So when they see that she has the armor on, that's when Korg enters with the narration, says, "Oh, you're probably wondering why she has the armor and the powers."
Gotcha.
Well, this is the background story.
There's narration there, yeah.
Which I will say, the cutscene of Thor and Jane roller skating together with their hammer like flying them or moving them forward, I found very hilarious. Like, that was like the one moment that I was like, "Damn it, you got me good." That was pretty funny. But what did you guys think of like the introduction to Lady Thor?
I thought it was lackluster.
What?
No, I mean the fact that when she came to the town and then we just assumed that the hammer came together and she was Thor, but like when we're introduced to her, she's already been Thor for a bit. Like, I would have liked that. I would have liked to see her first experience as Thor.
It did.
She's already been Thor for
3
years, or how long was it? She was like Thor for? Like, I forget. The Valkyrie girl says like how long she's been Thor, and I was like, oh, okay,
not very long.
Not very long at all. But like, at least like, because they're playing her off as she's trying to be cool, but she's not cool. And like, but when we had those moments of Thor charging in with his hammer, like, people are excited. I didn't feel that hype for her. Like, build her up some, not just try to, like, I don't know, the appearance of her just on screen didn't hype it up for me. I was like, this is expected because they showed it in the trailer. It's like, oh, Jane, is that you?
Jane?
Bro, what did you think?
I thought it was cool. I mean, I think it could have been cool. Maybe could we have had a moment, maybe a little bit beforehand, with Jane, like, experiencing the power of Thor for the first time and kind of having this moment of, like, feeling like, for once, I'm not feeling like I'm about to die. This feels great. I feel all this power. Like, that would have been cool. But I actually didn't mind her introduction. Like, it is. I mean, the introduction is exactly what they showed in the trailers. So it's like, well, I've seen it, but it's still cool to watch her, like, fight and be a badass. She looks great in that costume, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, Natalie Portman, you could tell she put in the work.
Yeah, she worked out for sure.
I wish they gave her, like, her own, because you know how they play Led Zeppelin for Thor. They should have played, I'm forgetting the band that does the song, but if they played, like, Barracuda at that moment when she comes in, like, Barracuda,
yeah,
no, I would be like, that would at least hyped up the moment for me, but it was just like, very bland. I don't know.
I think one of the things for me is it kind of brings me back to something I was saying in the beginning of the episode, which was the fact that, like, we know about the comics, so because we know what happens in the comics, we know what's going to happen in the storyline. There's this part of my mind that's like, I'm not shocked to see Lady Thor, because that was the marketing point of the movie, but also we know who Lady Thor is under the mask already. And I'm sure Taika Waititi knew that, which is why he set it up for us to already see that she's turning into Thor on her own in front of us, rather than keep it a secret till the very end of the movie. In the comics, as I push my glasses up really high, Thor doesn't find out who Lady Thor is until the end of the storyline. When she finally removes her mask and says, "Hey, I'm Natalie Portman," or "I'm Jane Foster, and I have cancer." And Thor's like, "What the heck? Oh my god, it's been like a whole freaking book trying to figure out who you are. This is crazy." Whereas in this movie, we find out like 30 minutes into the film.
Well, I think that's because of the plot. I think it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Thor is going through something else, and in the comic book, he lost Mjolnir, and he's not called the Mighty Thor anymore. I forget what he's called, but he's like jealous of this new Thor, and you don't really get that in this movie. This is more like, it's like, wait a minute, he recognizes Jane. It's his ex-girlfriend. It's his ex-weapon, and then, there's that thing. The completely different feelings in the movie, because he really wants to know who. Like the fact that he already knows who she is before she takes the mask off, and then or no, actually I shouldn't say that. He just told her, it's like, take your mask off, and then she's Jane. So yeah. But yeah, no, I'd say those are two different storylines that have no comparison, really.
And in the comics, Thor definitely doesn't go, "Jane?" On to the next scene, then. We got the group thwarts Thor, but he escapes, kidnapping several Asgardian children and imprisoning them in the Shadow Realm.
Several, I'd say a dozen.
Thor tries to give a speech to his Asgardian people to reassure them that he'll find the children. Can I just say, every time I hear the word Shadow Realm, I just think of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, "Oh, I'm going to take you to the Shadow Realm."
That's because you're a weeb.
I'm a very big weeb, yes, indeed. I have Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, guys. I do, I swear. They're in my room
your best
somewhere.
Card?
Blue Eyes White Dragon, whatever, no big deal.
This is
Exodia,
all
whatever,
going over
Japanese.
my head. This is
No, it's okay.
over my head.
You're an adult, Raoul. You're allowed to not know what he's talking about.
I never got into Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm sorry.
How dare you? You've activated my trap card. Well, I thought it was pretty interesting seeing Gore's abilities for the first time when he summons all his, like, shadow monsters. I was like, dang, where did that come from? But also really cool and badass. But also, I guess that brings us to that moment that we were talking about. Are Asgardians as strong as we think they are? Because if they were all super strong, then I think they could have been able to take on these monsters a lot quicker.
They were all fighting.
They were all fighting. That's true. That's very true. There was a part of me that was like, I don't get to see them doing super strength stuff. So, like, when they're fighting these monsters, there's a part of me that when I first watched this movie was like, oh man, are these just like regular civilians fighting these things? That's crazy. But again, as we've talked about it, I'm not as worried anymore. But
I'd also say, like, Sif, didn't she die in like that's the thing. I thought she was already dead during Ragnarok, or when Hela killed all of Thor's friends.
She disappeared
because she was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes, well, she showed up in Loki. Also, she had that quick scene in Loki, but no, we never saw Sif die. She just disappeared near the end of the movie when they were evacuating all the Asgardians, and we never saw her after that. And I guess we all just assumed that she was on the Asgardian ship.
Yeah, I guess, blew up.
No, never mind, because the Asgardian ship blew up. She must have gone somewhere else. I don't know. They don't do a good job explaining it. So
time travel.
Multiverse. There you go. Multiverse.
Aliens.
That fixes everything.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
She's a Skrull.
Yeah.
Why? How does multiverse fix? I don't know. Who cares? Multiverse.
It makes sense if you don't think about it.
Yeah, don't think about it. Multiverse. Yay.
What did you guys think of the Thor speech when all the Asgardians were all freaking out and panicking about the kids, and Valkyrie's trying to be the king of Asgard, trying to tell them all to calm down, but it's not until Thor says something that everybody goes, "Oh, let's listen to Thor," and he tries to, like, reassure everybody. How did you guys feel about that?
That's just another time the white man takes away from the black, strong female.
That was too good. I'm trying to get my cheer to go, but it didn't go fast enough. Thank you. Thank you for that, Chad. That was beautiful. Yeah, man.
I don't know. I thought it was good until it turned goofy, and then I was like, all right, well, you could have saved that moment, but
to me, it gave me that feeling of like Thor. He's supposed to be king for sure. Like clearly, his people respect him. But the fact that he got goofy towards the end kind of gave me like a realization of why he's not king right now.
yeah.
But
He's just not in the right headspace.
Well, I thought that moment was like him taking notice. You know what? Maybe it's time I should take up my role as what I should be, king of Asgard and stuff like that. But obviously, that's not the case.
Well, next up here, we got having inherited the abilities of his deceased father Heimdall, his son Axel contacts Thor, who finds the children. Thor realizes where the children are and decides to travel to Omnipotence City with his group to warn the other gods and ask for their help in creating an army. I had no idea that Heimdall had a son. So
how convenient.
Me either.
How convenient he had a kid.
Suddenly he has a son.
That has the same ability.
Very, very convenient indeed. But, hey, you know what? Good for the plot, I guess. Definitely push that plot forward. But also, I see Heimdall's son, Axel, being like a bigger character for future projects, possibly. You know, maybe.
Looks like they might be setting him up for something, yeah.
Young Avengers.
Well, I mean, would they get an older actor then to replace him? Because, like, I grew up now. I'm an older Axel. And I think I'm the new Heimdall. I got the gate. I can put gate now.
I think I could see him joining the Young Avengers, and having his Heimdall helmet on. Oh, you don't know that.
I was gonna say everybody's saying Young Avengers, but I wonder how much Marvel is committed to doing Young Avengers right now. Like, I don't know. There just so happen to be younger versions of these characters, like Hawkeye, Loki. But it's like I wonder, like, are they really going in this direction, or I don't know.
I'd say
just. I wouldn't mind the Young Avengers if it was like a big jump in the future where all the older superheroes are dead. Like, I think they did one movie like that because Ultron killed them all, but the Maestro, evil Hulk, is like the bad guy, and they got to fight Maestro, and there's a whole thing like that. But I think that would be interesting for the Young Avengers, not them at the present day with their older dad. It's like, hey, Hawkeye, I'm smaller Hawkeye, and we're gonna go fight. We're gonna fight Tornado Man because it's dog. I mean, they have to introduce X-Men, so it's like
that's how Kate Bishop actually talks.
Hey, Hawkeye, exactly like that.
Hey, Hawkeye, does my arrows hit the target?
Do I get a cookie if I throw the arrow?
I'm Kate Bishop. Hey, how's it going, Hawkeye?
I'm walking here. I'm Kate Bishop.
Although, as much as I make fun of it, I did enjoy the Hawkeye show. I thought that was
I did too. Yeah,
mainly because they introduced my boy Kingpin.
But think about it, guys. I think they are setting up the Young Avengers for sure. I mean, we got Axel here from this movie.
I disagree.
Kate Bishop.
We'll see at D23.
Oh, wait, hold on. We got Wiccan and
you're the king of speculation.
The kids,
they're all
the
there.
Speculation.
The children of Wanda are going to be
those characters are in play now. I just don't understand. I mean, clearly they're working towards Secret Wars. We've got so many other threads going on. We've got Thunderbolt stuff. We got Kang Dynasty. Like, is there room right now for Young Avengers?
Are they even that interesting? That's the thing. It's
well, that's the thing
that can
I'm
be built up.
I mean, they could
exactly,
but not until like 2029, where they
after Secret Wars. It would have to be after. There's just no room to fit. this crap
I'm gonna watch
in.
a bunch of kids take on like giant things that could crush them in one punch. No,
it'll be great. You never know. It could be like a whole Teen Titans thing, but good.
I mean, no,
that's fire.
Teen Titans is a better team than Young Avengers, but obviously we're not going to get a Teen Titans.
I think we got to wait till September 9th. Wait to see what happens on D24, D23, D23, not D24.
D23.
Wow.
And see if Kevin Feige ends up announcing this Young Avengers cast.
We'll see.
If he does, we'll see. I agree with you guys. I'm not extremely excited about the Young Avengers, but I can at least try to see if it's going to be a possibility. and
Don't
prep.
waste
I'm gonna
your
prep
energy.
myself for it. I'm gonna prep myself
There's
mentally.
not enough.
to
There's
see
not
it.
enough to excite me about Young Avengers other than like, hey, there are kids involved now. These characters exist now. Hey, they were Young Avengers in the comics. Cool. They're part of the story now. But there's nothing compelling me at this point. There's nothing compelling me to go, I want to see these characters get together.
Like the only thing I'm interested in is how they're going to incorporate X-Men or mutants, because so far, I'm
Fantastic
waiting on that.
Four, Doctor Doom,
like those things are interesting.
Bringing Deadpool back in, like there's no room for Young Avengers right now.
I know exactly where it's going to happen. It's going to happen right after Secret Wars in Phase 7.
Well, that's what I mean.
No, so wait, hear me out, hold up. It's going to be directly, like the next movie you see after Secret Wars is going to be Young Avengers, because when all the superheroes get taken to Battle World, what's left on Earth? The kids. And maybe there's a villain that shows up, and then the kids all join up forces to fight him.
Boom! Save the segment of this podcast right now and play this when that movie comes out and it's not Young Avengers. I just want
no!
I have to go back.
Looks like you made an ass out of yourself.
Let's see if Kevin is indeed a prophet or not.
Hey, I'm just a believer. I'm just a believer, and I believe in that. And maybe the gods will praise me and give me some magic juju powers to make it happen.
Idol Kevin Feige?
How dare you speak his name that way?
Speaking of gods,
we got our next scene over here as the journey. Oh wait, here we go. The leader of the gods, Zeus, fears Gore and is unwilling to help. Thinking they can remain safe and hidden from Gore in the city, Zeus orders the group's capture to prevent them from exposing the city's location to Gore. When Zeus injures Korg, Thor impales Zeus with his own thunderbolt, which Valkyrie steals before they escape. That was a really great segue, by the way, Raul. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
What did you guys think of this whole sequence, this whole scene with Zeus?
I thoroughly enjoyed Russell Crowe as Zeus. I thought he was fun, but also I love the accent he was doing for him.
Yeah,
you love the accent.
Greek.
Yeah, no, I thought it was,
I did too.
Was it Greek?
Yeah,
It was definitely Greek. Oh yeah.
I don't know, man. It sounded like a bunch of different things.
I've listened to a couple of Greek people, and it's very close to that. It is very.
It just sounded like he was doing his best Super Mario impression. Like I did not get.
It didn't even. That didn't sound Italian to me. That it sounded completely off of.
I honestly, I got Greek. I definitely got Greek accent from him.
I got Greek.
All right.
And I thought his play with the lightning bolt was funny. I thought it was like, all right, this is actually very humorous because you meet someone even more powerful and they're this absurd, but they're also crazy about orgies and which is Greek mythology. I mean,
that's
a lot of
true.
orgies did
very true.
take place, and
there's precedent for that.
Like he does, turn himself into a bird and bang some lady down on Earth.
Yeah,
that's
the Greek gods were very hedonistic.
Yeah, so that's why I was like that. I believe that, and that when he gets close to Thor, he's like, hey, I know about Gore and blah blah blah. I was like, okay, this is believable, even though somewhat comedic, but also I was like, really? Well, before it being spoiled that he wasn't dead, but I was like, really? He killed Zeus? That's pretty drastic there, and I don't know. It just felt, I was like, okay, and he could die that easily from his own weapon, which.
The only thing that could kill him was his own weapon. I mean, I don't know, that kind of makes sense.
But that wasn't the case. I mean,
yeah, it wasn't the case.
He was just like, oh, my chest.
But it was cool to see the God of Thunder kill the God of Thunder. I was like, all right, well, if any god could kill the God of Thunder, quote unquote,
God of Lightning.
Oh, that's right. He's Lord Sparkles.
But what was funny is that the God of Thunder controls lightning, so that doesn't make sense.
I think didn't he make a joke about that?
Yeah, he did after he
Zeus
killed him.
Make a joke about that?
Yeah, he's like, thunder comes before or after lightning or something like that. I forget.
Yeah, lightning comes before thunder.
The thing is, Thor actually controls lightning, so why wouldn't he be called the God of Lightning? I don't understand that.
I'm pretty sure he calls him Thor calls himself the God of Thunder in Ragnarok though. But
Yeah.
if we're getting
They do make a joke about.
but
they
he
also
uses,
did make a joke about that before in one of the earlier movies too. About.
but he uses
But
lightning. You know,
Isn't it technically? Don't you technically control lightning? And he just like jokes it off. I can't. I feel like that was a joke in an earlier movie.
And I am glad though that he was able to use his lightning powers without his weapon, because I was like, all right, at least they brought that back, because I was like, where is that in Infinity War and Endgame? Because he was able to use it with, against Hela and her people. So
he just
some
didn't.
continuity.
He couldn't rekindle it because of.
Get out of
You know.
here.
Get that corn out of my face.
It is. Oh yeah, we'll play that. There you go. I think it is interesting that Taika Waititi wrote that stuff for him for Thor Ragnarok and didn't include it in Thor 4. It's like if you're the writer and director of both movies and you didn't bring that back, that's pretty interesting. But I guess the plot called for him to not use those abilities. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
And touching back to what we said earlier, this scene, like as funny as it was, and I'll admit I thought it was pretty funny too. This whole scene, and it looked beautiful, like the set design and all that stuff. I mean, the CGI set, but it looked really cool, and it was very funny. But like we were saying earlier, it would have nice to get a little more cruelty out of them.
Yes.
Rather than just them being there. I mean, like we said earlier, they're just jerks. They're not.
But also, sorry to stop you there, Raul.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to bring what pulled me out of the moment is when Thor mentioned that anime, the god, the one that's a dumpling. I was like, what is this? Get out of here with the dumpling.
The dumpling god.
The dumpling god. I was like, come on. You could have come up with something better than that. I was like, this is.
Well, it is that did kind of remind me of Spirited Away.
Ah,
yeah. There's a god of radishes or a spirit.
Well, there's that Disney short before whatever movie where the lady has a dumpling kid.
Bao.
The dumpling turns
Oh
into a kid,
yeah,
Bao.
yeah.
Oh, that's what it was.
Bao.
A Bao. It was Bao.
It was cute. Yeah.
The Bao god of whatever dumplings.
Yeah, that's right.
I was like, why is that here? Why is that even in this movie?
While I do appreciate him, Taika giving an homage to the Japanese gods, I think he mainly did that character there just for the joke. And it's fine, but you could have used the joke for other things. But I'm also a very, very big weeb, as you boys know, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of adorable. But I was able to just be like, okay, it's a quick thing. We can move on and look at other gods now. So let's not think about that one.
But they cut back to it once or twice.
You're right. They did cut back to it again.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, you could have cut to the Korg's god, that other rock fellow.
Nini Nani Nooni.
Nini Nani Nooni. What a great name, by the way. Moving on to our next scene here, we got, as the journey continues, Thor and Foster rekindle their romantic relationship, and Foster reveals her illness. Well, let me finish that sentence, Chad.
Sorry.
They rekindle the romantic relationship barely, as Chad says, and Foster reveals her illnesses. I thought, to me, it's like that kind of sequence where it's like, you already know what's going to happen. So it's just a matter of the character, Thor, who doesn't know, discovering and seeing how he reacts. I don't really have too many thoughts about this. I just, we all knew that the stakes were already high because of that situation. Raul, you have any thoughts on that? Uh-oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I was muted accidentally. No, I thought this, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Like this, we kind of knew where this was going. So I enjoyed. I do think Chris Hemsworth did take a good second to kind of. We really got to see a little bit of more of the serious side of Thor in this moment, and his reaction to hearing Jane talk about her illness and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, they did rekindle. At what moment was the montage where you see all the little scenes of their relationship before they broke up? When in the movie was that? Did we already pass that?
That was right after you find her in the Thor armor for the first time. Once you hear Thor go, Jane?
Yeah.
I will say
Korg explains their relationship.
Right. Now, this whole thing about them rekindling their relationship and stuff, I think had it not been for that little montage before, I don't think it would have hit as much for me. But I actually really enjoyed that little montage. And I know it's like, oh, you get it after the fact. Like, why didn't we see stuff like this before? Like, it's convenient. Now we just see this montage that we've never seen before of these, of these two kind of building this relationship. But I did appreciate it because I did feel a little more invested in their relationship after having seen the montage. So by the time it comes to this part where they're rekindling their relationship, you kind of feel for them a little more.
I feel that.
I'll say there was some. I did feel the moment a bit, but how the cancer was revealed, I'll say that was the equivalent of Haley Joel Osment in Walker Texas Ranger going, "I have AIDS." If you've seen that clip,
I never saw that clip.
Oh well,
I have to look up that clip now.
Like, oh my God, Chuck Norris, his character walks over to Haley Joel Osment. And he's like, "Or how you doing?" And he's like, "So and so told me I have AIDS." And then they
oh Jesus,
God,
and that's how it came out.
That's how I felt. She said I have cancer, but I got why they did it that way. It was just like, I think it could have been a more gradual thing, like, because like the build up there of like, oh, I see myself being not stupid with you, but feeling shitty, like the whole shitty conversation. I was like, this dialogue is shitty. Since you're saying shitty in it, this dialogue's pretty shitty. To get to the cancer part, I was like, okay, all right. And then she just goes, I have cancer, and because she's afraid, she pushes him away with, I have cancer. I get that. But it could have been done better. It just could have been done better.
Oh, you know what? I almost went right over this other scene that happens while this one's happening, which is Valkyrie.
I was being a goat. I was being the goat.
Oh, very good, very good. No, that was beautiful. Where Valkyrie talks about how she had her own flame, like her own Valkyrie person that she fell in love with in the war or whatever.
I was like, we didn't see that flashback in Ragnarok.
We didn't see that flashback. Nope. No, that's true. We didn't really see much of that for her, and I felt like to me, it felt like there were scenes for Valkyrie with her love interest that they had in the movie, and they must have cut out because they were like, no, let's just get to the point.
Because China was like, we're not gonna tolerate that.
Yeah, I've heard that there was a lot cut out. There's a lot of gore that was cut out. Lena Headey had a huge role in this movie, and they cut all her stuff out.
She was gonna be Hera, completely. I think.
Hera?
Yeah, wife of Zeus.
She was going to be Hera. Okay, that makes sense.
And I was like,
there was a whole bunch. Yeah, I feel like you could tell there was a whole bunch left on the cutting room floor. So that makes total sense.
Well, all right. Well, next up, we got the next scene here. The group arrives at the Shadow Realm, but are unable to locate the children. Foster deduces that the kidnappings were a trap for Gore to take Thor's axe, Stormbreaker, in order to summon the Bifrost and enter the realm of eternity, who can grant his wish to destroy all gods. Gore overpowers the group, severely injuring Valkyrie.
This is when they crash into the planet, and then the goats.
Yeah,
the
goat scene,
right?
Yeah.
I thought that was a funny bit, but what I liked most about the fight was when Gore wrapped them all up in the tendrils and everything, and then he spoke to Jane and Valkyrie, and I felt I that's the moment I believed it's like her love and that died, one of the other Valkyries, her girlfriend or whatever, died, and I was like, oh, I feel it. Even though I didn't see it, I feel it in your expression right now, the way he's talking to you and you're receiving it. And then the way Jane is receiving that, all the stuff I'm doing right now is not even helping me fight this cancer. No God is, no magic is going to solve this moment. The hopelessness of the whole situation. And I was like, oh yes, this should have been the whole movie of just him creating this doubt, doubt of faith through the moment. I think that maybe should have been the movie. The doubt because how belief and doubt, like how that can go together, and that would have been an interesting. You could pray all you want, but you got to do it for yourself, or maybe you gotta those close to you are the ones that you should be praying to in a sense. Like I think there could have been so many ways to go about it, but I'll say I did like that scene because of how Gore penetrated their heads in emotionally and physically.
Each one of them too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Did you guys get a little bit of Terminator 2 vibes when he was with Thor and he was like, call the axe? Like a little bit of Call to John kind of vibe.
It didn't pop in my head
T-1000.
until you just mentioned it now, but I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, I totally see that.
Cool. Yeah.
Definitely,
I just wanted just a quick sidetrack on the goats. I freaking loved the goats. That's just me. And it's funny. It was one of those things. It's like a joke that the longer it goes on, the funnier it gets.
Yeah.
That's what it was for me, because it gets kind of ridiculous after a while with the goats screaming, but then it keeps happening, and especially when it gets to this scene where they crash into the planet, and then just out of nowhere you hear the goats scream again. I wasn't expecting it, and that's when I lost it.
Also, the
like,
moon.
those
That
freaking
moon was
goats
just
cracked
so
me up.
small. Like you didn't think, you thought the moon was going to be so much
Right.
farther away.
You think
and
they
it's
were
like,
much farther
boom.
away, and then they
Or
crashed
they were-
right into it.
Or it wasn't a moon and it was a planet, and you thought that was going to be the atmosphere, them entering the atmosphere of the planet, but no, they just slammed right into it.
Good comedy.
That
good comedy.
yeah, but that got me with those goats there.
I
Well, we
will
gotta-
say, I think there could have been funnier moments where the goats were like in the conversation with Zeus. If they had one of the goats there and it was kept going, ah! And he's like, "What is this? What is this goat scream?" I think that would have been a funny thing to add to the thing. But
make them more of a character than they can be.
Yeah,
You know?
you
I
know,
feel that.
I loved it the way it is. I love the way just them being used just as a joke.
I know for a fact. No, I don't know for a fact, but I'm so confident that they're probably going to use those goats with other Avengers characters that are going to interact with them. In future
I actually
films.
hope not. I kind of hope the goats are just contained to this one movie. Like, I think
Oh,
that it's good just in that one movie. I think if
you don't
keep
want to see
reusing the
Deadpool
goats-
riding that thing.
well, maybe Deadpool. I think he would be an exception.
Okay.
Yeah. I can see Deadpool riding one of those goats, but other than that, no.
Well, let's move on to our next scene here. The group retreats back to Earth, though Gore manages to steal Stormbreaker. Drained of her strength each time she uses Mjolnir, Foster is warned that using it once more will likely kill her. Thor persuades Foster to let him fight Gore alone while she recuperates. Yes, this is very, very, very sad. I feel like even though she was like, okay, I'll stay, I instantly knew like she's gonna go and then she's gonna die. Like this is like storytelling, baby. Like you know it's gonna happen.
They're setting things up because you've got them rekindling their relationship. They're tying off loose ends and they're closing the doors on certain things, and you can kind of see the writing on the wall. Like, oh yeah. she's probably not gonna make it to the end.
And again, like the moment in that scene where she's trying to fight Thor, saying like, "Why won't you let me go? Why won't you let me go?" And he's like, "Because I love you." Like that. Again, hit my heartstrings real good.
Yeah, that was pretty effective. On
like
me,
to me,
too.
this movie has a stronger, like Thor and Jane have a stronger chemistry in this movie, in my opinion, than in the first two films.
I agree.
And I thought they made it work really well, especially with her dying by the end. It's like, man, there it is. Like this is what he needed all this time, but they never had this in the first two films.
I think there was that in the first two films. It was just in a different way. Now, in like the moments where it's comedic in this movie, I don't feel they had the chemistry. But in the intimate moments of where they're both very vulnerable, I think yes, I agree. They do have that relationship that we didn't get to see, but I do feel the starting of the relationship, you got those moments, but it was very weird because he's from another world. He doesn't read on all the motifs that she's sending out, like that she really likes him and things. Like I felt that was there, but they were just very different from each other. And now that they're the same, they're both Thor, God of Thunder, they have this common ground, but then there's also this deeper intimacy that they have with each other because one of them is dying, and like even though he sees her as a strong being now, that he's accepting that he doesn't want to lose her too. So there's all that. So I think
Chad, that was beautiful.
I know, because I'm a very
beautiful, poetic man. You
yes. They
lady,
instead of a
lady
poet,
killer.
they send me. You know what I mean?
That was beautiful. Well, okay, so we got our next scene then here. Thor finds the kidnapped children at Eternity's altar, and using Zeus's thunderbolt, imbues them with his power to fight Gor's monsters while he battles Gor. When Foster senses that Gor is about to kill Thor, she joins the battle with Mjolnir to save him. They destroy the Necro Sword, freeing Gor from its influence, but the three are brought into Eternity's realm. I'll be honest, I said this whole time that like I felt like I knew what was going to happen throughout the film the whole time because of everything I'd heard beforehand. The one thing I did not see coming was Thor giving all these children the power of Thor.
Yeah.
That to me was, I thought it was pretty badass. But, oh no, Raul, you didn't think so? Tell me,
Okay,
no.
Jesus, I feel like I'm criticizing this movie much more than I thought I would be. But I will say, I did like the movie, but okay, here's the thing. I thought the scene was cool, and seeing all the kids fight, I thought it was hilarious and pretty badass too, especially the girl with the, what was it, like the teddy bear or the rabbit or something? Yeah. However, this bothers me because when the hell could Thor do this? Like, where was this power all this time? Suddenly, he's able to imbue anybody with the power of Thor? Couldn't the Avengers have used that at some point when they were fighting Thanos? Like, where the hell did this come from?
That is a very, very good point. And
how could he suddenly be able to do? He should have just been able to do that to anybody and everybody.
The only way I could think that was possible is because Odin died and he's the next up in rank, so he'd be able to do that. But since he didn't accept the throne, he shouldn't have been able to do it. I don't know, because because if you remember in the first Thor, Odin spoke to the hammer and he's like, "If you whoever be so blah blah blah." So and then that's what kind of he was saying for those weapons that the kids had or whatever like that. And I was like, I don't know, but it was a bunch of just like this is an easy way out so the kids can't die. So the no kid would be in danger.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. He didn't have this power before.
No.
Okay, so he used it in this movie. I mean, you got to explain it now. Going forward, like, now we're just going to be like, why doesn't he just do that thing where he imbues people with the power of Thor again? Why doesn't he just do that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he if anything, he could have done that in Ragnarok, saved Asgard with that if he imbued everybody with Thor's power.
There were so many opportunities where he could have used this power, and he didn't. And suddenly he can do it in this movie.
That's because Taika Waititi is a hack. And then that...
okay, here. I'm gonna try to.
We love you, Taika Waititi.
I'm gonna try to play devil's advocate. I'm gonna try to defend it. Ready for this?
All right.
I think as every movie has gone on for Thor, he has slowly developed more of an understanding of who he is as a person, who he's supposed to be, and his powers have gotten stronger and stronger to the point where by this moment, Chad, hold on, wait a minute. By this moment, he was strong enough to learn how to use that ability. And well, here's the thing. Here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna let them get away with it this once, but however.
If you let it slip once, they're just gonna do it again.
Hold on. However,
there's a slippery slope here.
If Thor doesn't use that ability from here on out,
that's what I'm saying. Now we've set a precedent.
Yeah, now
we've set a precedent for. Now, if you don't want him to do that, you got to give us a reason why he can no longer do that now. You got to give us a good reason.
Can you imagine if he just goes, I forgot. I don't know.
That's bullshit.
Oh,
I will not accept that. You got to give us a reason now. Next movie he shows up in,
he better be character OP now. You can't bring him back down again. This isn't an anime. This is a new season of anime where they're like, oh well, they're too strong now.
It's over 9,000.
Either he continues to do this little trick over and over again in the next few movies we see him in, or you give us a really good reason why he can no longer do it. Because I can't get over this.
No, you know what?
I was like, I'm so sad that Jane died of cancer that I can't do it anymore. that it made me too sad now. I'm emotionally inept, and I can't.
But all the other powers of Thor I have, just this one thing I don't have.
What if also... Wait, what if also, guys, what if the reason why he wasn't using it before was because he wasn't aware of the fact that he even had the ability to do that? Because think of it this way. He told Mjolnir...
How would he learn?
He learned when he found out about Jane Foster becoming...
He didn't find that out.
He did, because when they explained to him how she got her powers, he's like, oh, that's crazy. And it turns out that Mjolnir, he spoke to Mjolnir and was like, oh,
yeah, but he doesn't know
you have to protect her.
He doesn't know that, though. He
Well,
doesn't know that.
That's what they explain afterwards.
No, but they're explaining to us, not him.
Then how does Korg know? Because Korg's the one narrating it.
Well, I don't know. That's because this story doesn't make sense.
Okay, we gotta move on to the next sequence here. Let's see. But yes, I agree that it is a very confusing situation that he's got this ability now. We hope to see it in the future. If not, then Taika's that.
A cool scene for the kids to fight with Thor powers.
Okay, we gotta move on.
You want to look badass? Here.
We gotta move on.
He thought of the girl with the rabbit screaming, and he was like, "Let me build a whole scene around that girl with the rabbit."
Because
with
the rabbit
Gore
represents Jojo Rabbit, his previous.
There you go.
Oh boy, you just like bugged out just now. Okay, so with Gore poised to make his wish, Thor implores Gore to revive his daughter instead of destroying the gods. Thor then leaves Gore to make his decision and attends to Foster, who succumbs to her illness and dies in his arms. Moved by their display, Gore wishes for eternity to revive his daughter, which it grants. As Gore dies from the curse, he requests Thor to take care of his daughter, named Love. Aww, so cute. I mean, I did think it was a beautiful way to end that wish-making thing. It was very touching. But also the fact that the girl's name is Love, I was like, you got us. Okay, Love and
Thunder.
On
the nose.
Yeah, it's very on the nose.
Sure.
But
I didn't know her name was Love because I thought that's how he called his daughter. You know how like some people go, hello, Love. You know, they talk.
Hello, Love.
Yeah, like they talk.
Every parent.
Hello, puppet.
I thought that's how he was referring to his daughter, but then when it was her name, I was like, really? Oh, come on, guys.
Hello, Love.
Yeah, I wasn't that at the end there. It did left me questioning. I was like, wait, is that really her name? Is her name really Love?
I didn't even know that was her name.
Sure.
And I mean,
okay.
They don't mention her name throughout the whole movie until the very end, and so that's when Korg's
no, he calls her Love in the beginning.
Does he call her Love?
Yeah. He's
like, my love, that's just
my love. You know, he goes like that, and I'm like, oh, he's calling her his love.
It's like if somebody said,
but
my
that's
Chad.
actually her name.
Yeah, but then apparently that's
my
Chad.
I
was like,
my
okay, all right, that
makes
sense, I guess.
All right, I had forgotten that he's.
How about I don't make a wish for me to live and take care of my daughter at the same time, but you know, let me just send her off with this guy who I've been trying to kill the whole movie, and
you know what he should have done is wish for more wishes. That's what I would have done. I would have been like, hey, can I get like 3 more wishes? And then Eternity would have to do it.
I would have been like this. It's like, hey, can you make everyone in this room not die? Can you just like make everybody good, healthy?
Hey, could I wish for the power to bring people back to life? Cool, thanks.
Did any of you guys remember what are the actual mechanics of being able to wish for stuff with Eternity? I mean, it's one wish.
You just have to be cool.
You can't. Could he have actually wished, bring my daughter back, and by the way, don't let Jane die? Like, could he have?
Well, I mean, the daughter came back and she had the powers of eternity, so I don't know what that means now.
I don't know. She has, that's the thing. She comes back and she has powers now. This part, I just don't understand.
She's the daughter of eternity, you know?
No, but she's the daughter of Gore. She's not the daughter of eternity.
I'm the daughter of Gore. That's what Korg said at the end. She's like, now love the daughter or the creation of eternity or something like that.
We're just pulling stuff out of our ass at this point now. We're just calling anything, whatever we want to call it, just for the convenience, for the sake of convenience now. Oh, yeah, she's Love, but she's the daughter of eternity. What? I thought she was the daughter of Gore. She's the daughter of eternity now.
I'm walking here. I'm the daughter of eternity. Hey.
Wow, I didn't realize I was going to rag on this movie as much as I did, but I will say I did like the moment, and I've heard other people kind of describe this too, and it kind of hits with me now after hearing this, is that this moment here where Gore seeing, his whole motivation is that he sees gods as being these cruel beings, and with no no sympathy towards the common people. But now to see a god like Thor choose love over, being cruel or selfish, that was enough to move him. And that was one of the emotional high points of this movie, was that last moment where Thor is there with Jane. She's dying in his arms, and Gore's looking at him, and he doesn't see cruelty or selfishness. He sees a god who
love.
is pouring out his love. Yeah, he sees.
Well, I would say that plus he sees himself at the beginning of the movie holding his daughter the same way.
Yes,
so I think he was like, what am I? And then he comes to
it
his senses.
clicked with him. Yeah, it clicked with him.
Yeah.
All right, well,
that's why Christian Bale is the OG.
Christian Bale is
Give
very
him any
OG.
role, he's gonna sell it.
He killed it here.
He could be a talking zebra, and I'd believe it.
He could have wished to be Batman, and then he would have been Batman.
He could have been the voice of
MCU.
those goats. Screaming
Batman
goats
is Marvel.
Batman
don't
is
steal
Marvel.
other people's jokes, Kevin.
Yes, credit goes to Brock Baker for that one. Our good buddy Brock. All right,
TM.
next scene here.
Yeah.
Trademark.
All right.
In the aftermath, the children return to New Asgard, where Valkyria and Sif begin training them, and a monument of honor, in honor of Foster, is built. Thor adopts Love, who joins him in his heroics, with the former wielding Mjolnir and the latter wielding Stormbreaker.
I'm surprised they didn't give any jokes to Sif when she's training the kids. Like, I know I'm not armed right now, because he's missing it or something. It's just like, that was a way better joke than anything in that movie.
You know what? That's a cheer right
I
there.
wish
Very
Sif.
good.
I wish Sif got more love, man. I want to see more Sif. I feel like she's been.
Sif.
Oh, you get out of here, you. I think when we saw Sif in Loki, like, that to me was what made me think I want to see more of Sif, because like she's
Right.
clearly very
Especially
talented.
after
She's a good
Loki.
actress. Like, the actress is very good.
Yeah, Jamie Alexander.
Jamie
But
Alexander.
also, we never got the Enchantress, which I was disappointed about, in villain, but
Oh wait,
whatever.
Chad, can you say that one more time? I think we got a bug out, and I might cut out what you just said. Say that thing again.
The fact that we never got an Enchantress character for the MCU, because she played. I mean, she was always a great Marvel villain or Asgardian villain, because she's able to mess with all of the Avengers magically and things like that. Plus, they wasted Carl Urban's character. I forget his name, but
yeah,
because he has this axe that has magical abilities that can, like, he could hit the ground, it turns to ice, and then he could hit it and it turns to fire, and he's like this unstoppable person. And I was like, they threw him out the window.
I can't remember. How did he die?
He jumped out the thing firing guns into the zombie things, and he blew up with the planet or whatever like that. It was dumb. It was real dumb.
Although he did have one of the best lines in Ragnarok, which was like, "I've got these two guns. One's called Des, and the other one's Troy. When you put them together, they destroy." Ooh.
It was really bad.
Very Taika.
He's smarter than that. Taika's smarter than that. He should have been smarter with it.
I don't know about that,
but I'm just saying they missed. All these Thor movies, we missed out on an opportunity with Enchantress. And
well, can I just say that talking about the ending of this scene where we see Thor in an apron baking cookies with his daughter, his adopted daughter. I never would have guessed in my life, if you had brought me back to 2011 and told little 2011 Kevin, like, hey, yeah, Thor's eventually going to be a daddy, and he's going to be baking cookies with an apron on in a kitchen. I would have been like, you're lying to yourself. Like, I'm not going to fall for this prank. That's not real. That's not going to happen.
Well, you don't think men should be in the kitchen?
Oh, boy. Anyways, I just, like, it's just not at all what you expect from a character like Thor. And so when you see something like that, it's like, man, we really come a long way with Chris Hemsworth's
the comedic route that he's had. I was like, yeah, this isn't a surprise that he's in a kitchen making flapjacks for somebody. I'm not surprised.
Well, because by
at all.
this point, it's like it doesn't. Again, what we said earlier, it doesn't feel like Thor anymore. It feels like Chris Hemsworth being Thor. So it's like, at what point do we just say, okay, well, that's what it is now? You know, like, is it okay if we could just move on with that then? That's fine then, whatever.
You know, I think Thor actually died when he created Stormbreaker, and the sun actually killed him, and then a dumb version of him just came out of that.
It was a multiverse thing. It was one of his variants. Came out.
Yeah, his multiverse variant is what is it?
Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth just came out of it.
Dreamwalking. What is it? What is it that? What is it that?
Yeah, Dreamwalking.
Scarlet Witch does dreamwalking. Yeah, it's a dumber version of Thor dreamwalking into our version of Thor.
Yeah.
All right, well, so we got our next scene. We got a mid-credit scene. Back in Omnipotence City, recuperating Zeus sends his son Hercules to kill Thor. Now, for those wondering who the heck is Hercules in the Marvel series, Hercules is a character appearing in Marvel Comics, debuting in the Silver Age of comic books. The character is based on Heracles of Greek mythology, despite using the name of his Roman equivalent Hercules. Since his first appearance, he has been a long-lasting member of the Avengers. His abilities involve super strength. He's immortal, has the healing ability.
He's Hercules.
He can enter a state of extreme rage.
He's Kevin Sorbo.
And he's also known to have... oh, man, if he doesn't go... disappointed at some point, then I'll be very disappointed. But also, he's known to have beaten Thor in a couple of comic storylines, and he is known to also speak in a manner similar to Thor.
He's actually stronger than the Hulk.
He speaks more like Thor in the first Thor movie, so he's going to be very Shakespearean, I suppose, in a way. But say that one more time, Chad.
He's actually stronger than the Hulk. I think he's beaten the Hulk before. I think, if I remember correctly, I don't remember.
That's
totally
gonna be awesome
well.
to see. Well, I'm gonna assume that he's gonna fight She-Hulk instead of Hulk then in the future, if that's the case, which would be really cool to see.
But also, it's cool that I think he'll do a good job. The guy from Ted Lasso, since that's what it is.
Brett Goldstein,
Yeah.
Great show.
Roy Kent.
I was seeing Hercules as more, because in the comics he's much more of a bigger guy, like probably the size of The Rock or something like that.
Yeah.
But they went skinnier. I was like, okay, whatever, that's fine.
I feel like
it works out.
I feel like Brett Goldstein can.
No, I'm not discrediting him at all. I'm just saying this is a different version of Hercules that we'll see. So I was like, yeah, no, I'll believe it. Whatever.
I think we also got to remember that we took a very Taika Waititi route. So even looking at Zeus, I imagine like this big buff character. You guys remember the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League when we see Zeus in that movie? Like that's what I was imagining. Maybe a little bit older. You guys don't remember that?
Yeah, I do.
No,
the beginning.
I only saw it the once, so I don't remember too well.
Well, Chad, just to refresh your memory, they got an Olympian, like an actual like bodybuilding Olympian and they cast him as Zeus in this DC movie. And to me, I'm like, that's kind of how I imagine Zeus at all times, except with more of the Disney film white hair, beard, and everything going on. But he's just this.
That's because you're living in a false reality, Kevin.
Oh no, am I in the wrong multiverse? I can't believe it. But no, I think I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do with Hercules. Again, I know I just described his powers, but Chad's essentially right. I mean, it's just Hercules. It's just Hercules, but now he's in the MCU. Treat it as if you're looking at Thor from the mythology that he comes from.
I think you know what I think. I think he's going to be the new Thor, and Thor will be out, and Hercules will be in.
I could see that. I can 100% see that, especially since he's good enough to even defeat Thor in the comics as well. So, I don't know.
I hope the next time we see Hercules, though, he actually does talk like Roy Kent, just like cursing up a storm.
Oh,
Thor!
God.
I mean, that'd
bloody
be great,
wanker!
But it's Disney, and they'll be like, "Oh, hey,
We don't like swearing.
I'm a good guy."
Hey, please don't swear in our movies, guys.
It's funny. I'm doing an English accent, and you're doing a Greek accent, Dad. Isn't that crazy?
I swear. Wait, did he speak in the movie in the mid credits? I can't remember.
No, I think he just went or something like that.
Yes, Father.
I think he did that. Yes, Father, or something like that.
Like it's not enough to
you know what that reminded me of? Darkseid and I forget the son's name. He looked like this. He looked similar because he had a club and everything. He's like, "I'll defeat Superman, Father," type of thing. It felt like that to me in that scene.
Yeah.
Also,
But it's
all,
just,
all
you
the
know,
side
you
the side
Balrog
villains
or
are
something. I don't know.
all of his Darkseid's buddies in the DC movie that he shows up in kind of just made me think of all of Thanos' children. And so it's very hard to distinguish
Yeah.
them from
Black,
those
yeah, the Black
films.
Order.
The Black Order, yeah, that's what it was. Well, that's it with Hercules, and then finally at the end we get a post-credit scene with Jane Foster arriving in the gates of Valhalla, where Heimdall welcomes her. Do you guys think? Now, this is just a theory, as usual. When Thor,
Here we go.
when Thor eventually dies, in my opinion, I think he's gonna die. Eventually, he's gonna show up in Valhalla, and Jane Foster's gonna be there to welcome him, and that's gonna be like the closing of Thor's storyline.
It'll be like Thor's version of Cap going back and finally having that dance with Peggy when he goes back in time.
Exactly. I think
I
that'd be
could
nice.
see that.
You know,
I didn't think about it too much until you said it just now, but
That'd be nice.
yeah, that could be.
I don't think he's gonna have that touching of a thing because his character's too comical now. Like he can't have that moment that Cap and Tony Stark did.
Well, that's why my theory is that he's not going to die in a Thor movie. He's going to die in an Avengers movie because I think that'll.
But
have a deeper meaning.
I still don't think he's gonna earn the moment. Like to have that big funeral of everybody's like.
Oh no, I don't think it's going to go out like that though. I think it's his death will be celebrated by everyone rather than the way that they did it for Tony Stark. But like I think that as long as you don't have Taika Waititi in the helm, like I'm sure that when Thor dies in an Avengers movie, if maybe, then whoever the director's going to be for that will be able to give us a less comedic Thor to make it mean a lot more. You know, it's going to be more impactful. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. What else do you guys think of that?
No, I don't know. I wonder, are we going to see Valhalla again? Is this something? Well, I guess other than like what you may theorize, but is Valhalla going to be something we might go back to and see like characters like Heimdall again or something? Or you think this is just like it was just this one thing to give Jane her closure?
Well, Chad, I know you read a couple of the comics. Have there ever been any storylines in the Thor comics about people from Valhalla coming back from the dead?
Or them going to Valhalla?
Not that. I mean, like I haven't read too many Thor ones, but not really. I haven't seen that. You know, if anything, I think the next Thor movie would have Beta Ray Bill, who was pretty much.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's like his own Thor. And like, you know, I thought we'd at least maybe get a glimpse of Beta Ray Bill in this. But
Me
no.
too. Yeah.
All right,
sadly, no.
If Thor dies, then either Beta Ray Bill or Hercules will replace him. Taking all bets, boys. Taking all bets. Who do you guys think it's going to be? Is it going to be Beta Ray that replaces him or Hercules? What do you think?
I think more Beta Ray Bill than Hercules.
I think the series in total of the MCU is just going to crash and burn before we get to Secret Wars, you know, because they're just not going to keep our attention as long.
We'll see. We'll see what they say at D23. There's still some dates there for Phase 6 that we don't know about.
Oh, yeah. We're going to discover what
they're
they're up to.
I'm very curious to know what they are. Please give me more mutants.
Overall, talking through this whole film plot summary, I do find myself realizing that there's a bunch of good moments in Thor 4 that I genuinely enjoy and really laughed at, and it killed a lot of time for me, and it went by really quick. But at the same time, if you asked me if I wanted to rewatch Thor 4 a couple more times, I'd probably be okay. I'd be like, nah, I'm all right. I'm okay. Yeah. Like, I've seen it enough times to be like, I get it. You know, I'm probably
it's
more
not a
likely
movie you would
to
go
watch...
back to, like, yeah, Ragnarok, right?
Yeah, I'd probably more likely watch Ragnarok first than Thor 4, but it's not like if I had to put the Thor movies in order of like number of like favorite to worst least favorite, I think Thor number 1, then we got Thor Ragnarok, Thor 2, then Thor 4. No, I'm sorry. Thor 1, Thor 3, Thor 4, Thor 2. There it is. That's what I'm trying to say. That's my order. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Mine is 3, 1, 4, 2.
3, 1, 4, 2?
Yeah, I think so.
Mine would be only in the sense of what is most Thor like of the character. So like he's pretty much Thor in Thor 1. So Thor the first one would be the top one for me.
Mhm.
Then Thor 2 would be next. He's still Thor, and then Thor 4, then Thor Ragnarok would be last.
Really?
I like that.
Because, yeah,
Ragnarok is last.
Because I still believe that one was
Well, now-
just all comedy. There was no.
I
seriousness to it.
love the first Thor. I do. I just think even compared to Thor 4, the second one was just, I did not like it at all.
Chad, do you feel
yeah.
do you feel like that order would change if I said to rate it based on which movies are better? It's not just about how close they were to being Thor, but just storytelling wise, how would you order it?
But they're so contrasting that it's hard to even compare them like that, because two of them are funny, two of them are serious.
Mm.
So it's like I can't really do that, because
Yeah.
it's like, this one's very funny, I guess, so I'll move it up, but
They're
it's
just
not
so
good.
different.
It's
Okay,
it's
I
it
feel
doesn't
that.
work like that.
All right, I get you.
I'll give my final thoughts here on this. Overall, I enjoyed it. I was entertained. This movie was very entertaining. And the funny stuff, I did laugh at it. I thought where the humor hit, it was really good and I had a fun time. But overall, I feel like Taika Waititi, he's funny, but I think he needed to rein himself in a little more with this one.
Mm.
I think with, like I said, Thor Ragnarok, it was more balanced. I think he showed a good bit of restraint there as far as the comedy versus as far as the tone balance. I don't think he was able to restrain himself as much with this movie. I feel like, maybe the improv was maybe he went a little too much with allowing everybody to improv, and maybe that kind of stuff won out in the editing room more so than the stuff that we've heard has been cut. I think maybe he was a little more self-indulgent as far as that goes. And like I said, look, I love Taika Waititi. I don't mean to rag on him as much as I feel like we're
Ragging
doing today.
so hard, Raul.
We are, but listen, I love Taika Waititi. I love all the stuff he's done before, Jojo Rabbit, What We Do in the Shadows, all that stuff. I just feel like he didn't show enough restraint with this movie and just kind of let himself, let it go a little too far as the comedy is concerned.
Chad, last few thoughts for you?
I mean the movie killed some time, I guess.
Wow.
I mean, no, I'll say that, but I did enjoy parts of the movie to a certain point where I like this more than Ragnarok. So I will say that. But I would probably only look at clips of this movie again. I really wouldn't waste time watching it. Because nothing, I don't know. It's I like some I like more drama to the hero escape, and I like the gravity of a situation to hit deeper where it's like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Like I didn't really care. I didn't really care.
Yeah, I agree.
So if they get me caring again, hopefully maybe I'm just dead inside and I'm not able to be that kid anymore that
Your
I was.
heart is so cold.
Or
Jack.
this was just made for kids. This, it's for kids now. It's not for us. But Kevin, I know you're young. You're a little tyke, a little Taika Waititi,
Little 28-year-old tyke.
Tyke. But no.
Chad,
yeah,
let me
I don't
ask
know.
you this, Chad. Let me ask you
What?
this, because I'm actually very surprised that you even like this movie more than Ragnarok. And for some reason, that gives me
Yeah,
hope
me too.
that you're gonna at least stay on and hang on a little bit longer to see what they come up with next. Am I right about that?
I mean, I am interested in where they go because, like, there are characters I am looking forward to, but once they, I'm not gonna curse here because I know you don't want that.
PG-13, PG-13.
Do it, Chad. Do it. Get into the
No,
box.
don't do it.
If they don't screw it up, then I'll stay on. But if they introduce Doom and it's the worst Doom I've ever seen, I'm done. I'm not gonna.
Oh God, I hope they
Oh,
do.
man.
Doom, if they mess up X-Men in any way, I'm done. I'm not continuing. Mainly right now, how they ended Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm interested in that because I was like, all right, now we're to the Spider-Man that I know and love. So maybe that'll be fun.
Real Spider-Man.
Who knows when that's happening? So I was like, I'm not gonna sit around and wait for that. There's a bunch of other movies I could watch in the meantime. So, but yeah, like the shows, I'm just not like I am very because they brought Kingpin in. I love Kingpin. I love Daredevil. I was like,
cannot wait for Born Again.
Yeah, that and the Punisher show, I'm excited for. So like, bring those back to me.
There's a Punisher show coming.
I think
it's not right? It's not greenlit. That's just a rumor. But
I mean, it's gonna happen. Come on, it's happening.
I mean, eventually, I'm sure something will come of it. But right now, it's still a rumor. But I don't know. We'll see what happens at D23.
Let's get John Bernthal back.
But the main thing I want is Vincent D'Onofrio in a Spider-Man movie because we
yes!
have not had a Kingpin versus Spider-Man.
I want to see Spider-Man versus Kingpin. The first Spider-Man comic I ever read, sorry Chad, but the first Spider-Man comic I ever read was him fighting against Kingpin. And for a long time, I mean, that in the animated series, I was like, Kingpin is a Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me. Anyway, sorry Chad, go ahead.
I mean, no, I completely agree with that because, I mean, obviously, yes, he did start out in Hell's Kitchen, but then he raised up in the ranks and he's in Manhattan now, and that's where Spider-Man is. So I was like, there's no way that he doesn't cross paths with him. So it's like, if you're bringing Kingpin into this universe, he's gonna meet Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So that's the main thing I'm excited for. Because I love Spider-Man that much, but you know, I was on the fence up until now because I was like, oh, this is kind of like a goofy Spider-Man where he's not as smart. He's not very smart. I'll say that.
Well, let's redirect back into Thor because the whole point of this was I'm glad Thor 4 has given you a little bit of hope. And,
it hasn't, though.
No hope at all. All hope is lost. And with that, everybody, we made it to the end. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can follow us on Instagram at Real Geek News. You can also follow our separate handles on Twitter and Insta at Kevin A. Rivera VO and Raul Ceballos VO. Chad, what's your Twitter handle, by the way?
Twitter handle? It's Captain Mad Murdoch, but I'm not going to spell that because I abbreviated some stuff, so...
You guys, we'll put it in the details of the episode. Anyways, want to send us a message to tell us your passionate movie news opinions? Send us an email at realgeeknews@gmail.com. And of course, we'll leave all the description below. Stay safe, stay classy, and most important of all, Raul,
praise Kevin Feige.
And stay geeky, my friends.
That too.